At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order. Individuals wishing to address the commission are requested to complete a speaker card and deliver it to the Parks and Recreation Commission Secretary prior to the item being heard by the commission. Please observe a 3-minute limit for communications, and once called upon to speak, please state your name and city of residence for the record. We do have a couple revisions to the agenda. Item 4, we have changes that were made to slides 5, 13, 24, and 25. And for item 5, we have a presentation that was added. If you could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ms. Vargas, will you please call roll?
Commissioner Munoz,
Present.
Commissioner Kinney,
Present.
Vice Chair Bass,
Present.
Commissioner Wentworth,
Present.
and Chair Olson is absent. Thank you.
Thank you. We have the approval of the Parks and Recreation meeting minutes of March 12th, 2024. Do we have a motion?
I'll move to approve the minutes.
I second it.
A motion was made by Commissioner Wentworth and second by Commissioner Munoz. Let us take a vote.
Yes. Commissioner Munoz,
Aye.
Commissioner Kinney,
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Vice Chair Bass,
Yes?
and Commissioner Wentworth.
Yes.
For the consent calendar, we have the developer impact fee fund balance bond repayment for February 2024. Do we have a motion?
I will move to approve the consent calendar.
Do we have a second?
I second that.
A motion was made by Commissioner Wentworth and second by Commissioner Munoz. Let us take a vote.
Commissioner Munoz,
Yes.
Commissioner Kinney,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bass,
Yes.
and Commissioner Wentworth.
Yes.
Thank you.
Communications from the public. This portion of the agenda is intended for general public comment only on items within the commission's jurisdiction that is not listed on the agenda. Persons wishing to address the Parks and Recreation Commission are requested to identify themselves and state the matter on which they wish to comment. No action will be taken on matters not listed on the agenda, and please observe a 3-minute limit for communications. Ms. Vargas, are there any speaker cards from the public?
No, Vice Chair, there are no speaker cards.
Are there any written comments from the public?
No, Chair, there are no written comments.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Ms. Mallory here to provide the report from the Mayor's Youth Council for the youth update.
That one? Oh, yay. Okay. Good evening. My name is Mallory Millett. I'm on the Mayor's Youth Council, which offers the opportunity to serve the community and gain a wealth of experience in the local government and jobs of the government. Today at our meeting, which just ended, we got to hear from Shannon Crow from Human Resource Department. She discussed volunteer opportunities and different just tricks and tips for when you're applying for a job. Our next meeting, which is our last meeting, will be Wednesday, May 1st. Thank you.
Any comments from the commissioners?
Yes, I have one. What tips did you learn today about job hunting?
Well, we learned just like what to wear to an interview and just like some questions that would be there when you're getting interviewed.
How about volunteering?
we did learn a lot about that. We got the business card from the lady that's in charge. Sorry, I forgot her name. But we also got a pamphlet on different like volunteer opportunities and just how to volunteer through the city.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Commissioner Kinney, anything?
I just wanted to thank you for being here and putting your time in this year. And I hope you enjoyed it and got something out of this year and maybe come back next. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you to you guys for all that you do and for volunteering to do this for the city. And I hope that you really gained a lot from your experience.
Thank you. Yes, I also would like to say thank you for your participation. And I did hear you saying that it was going to be your last meeting next month. Is that because it's the end of the school year?
Basically, I think it is just so the seniors graduating, like it doesn't follow through the summer when they're like going off to college and everything. But our meeting is on May 1st, and it's kind of like a graduating from the program.
Well, I can't wait to hear about that one. I hope we get to
Thank
hear about
you.
it. Thank you. Okay, next up we have our discussion items for the Community Services Report by Ms. Finch.
Thank you, Vice Chair. So we have, again, exciting announcements to share from both our Recreation Services Division as well as our Facility Parks and Trails Division. And Mr. Last, Jason Last, Recreation Services Manager, is going to get us started with some updates for Recreation Services on upcoming events, the upcoming Kids Club program for summer, the special events update that was provided to the City Council at the Spring Financial Workshop, and some recent improvements over at the Circle City Center to help improve security measures over there. And then we will turn it over to Caroline Bustos, who's going to be providing our update for Facility Parks and Trails. She has some information on some new team members in the division, some recent trail improvements over at Hagedorn, an update on our Arbor Day event, an update on the Urban Forest program, as well as an update on the Sheridan Park Playground item that you saw last month during the meeting. So I will go ahead and turn it over to Mr. Last to get us started.
All right, thank you, Ms. Finch. All right, to kick off, I just want to share a little past event that we're really proud of. On Wednesday, March 13th, the community joined in celebration for the unveiling of the new mural at the Corona Senior Center. This gift from the Corona Art Association, designed by local artist Lori Alarcon, depicts a beautiful, lush green landscape as intended to enhance the sense of place for patrons enjoying our nutrition program. This project was made possible with generous support of the Corona Rotary Club, Santiago High School Interact Club, and Santiago High School Art Club. The mural is over 54 feet wide, includes the efforts of 40 volunteers, and took 3 weeks to complete. Our patrons loved the addition, and it was really fun to see art in action. For the month of April, there's plenty of exciting things happening here in the city of Corona. In fact, our summer registration just opened, so you can start planning for the months ahead as we get ready for the school break. We are doing our volunteer orientation on April 15th, so you can learn more about all of our great volunteer opportunities, whether they be single or ongoing. Our senior center is going to be taking a trip to the Sherman Library and Gardens. We are going to be doing an adaptive spring social. We are also having the Corona Norco Day of the Child co-sponsorship, and that's going to be taking place in City Park. Our Corona Beautiful community cleanup for this month is Via Pacifica, and we're going to be doing a tree planting here in honor of Earth Day. We have another kids' night out at the Circle City Center, so kids or parents who are looking for a little escape there, great opportunity for you. New for this year, on April 27th, we're working with the Corona Norco Unified School District to host their Festival of the Arts. So this is a district-wide event. They're going to be taking over the entirety of the CCC and adorning it with all kinds of art on the walls. We're going to have performance as well as some interactive elements. So they're taking the lead on that, and we are so excited to be hosting that as a regional attraction here. The Corona Library will be doing their DIA, which is Diversity in Action, and that's presented by the TAC. On 427, our parks are doing a guided hike, a bird walk. We'll talk a little bit more about this in the coming slides, but the fire department's going to be hosting a Trails Day on 4/27. And then also, man, so many great things happening on 4/27. We're going to be ending the night there with our Historic Civic Center hosting a comedy night. So tickets are available for just $10 there. Great little night on town and opportunity to see our theater in action. Of course, there's plenty more happening in the months ahead with our new summer edition of the Corona Connection. Copies delivered to the post office on Monday and are anticipated to be delivered to homes this week. On the cover, we have the Smalley family. They are actually photographed there at our 4th of July event last year. We have our city and community events calendar. We have activities for all ages and interests. We have information about summer at your library. We have our new Inner Circle feature. That's that insert piece there, the glossy magazine, and we have a great feature about revitalizing our downtown and so much more. And if you want to link to the digital copy, you can just click right there. And I know summer hasn't even happened yet, but for our parents who are always planning ahead, I'm excited to share that our Kids Club After School program is available for enrollment starting on Wednesday, May 1st for the new school year here. Services are roughly $66 a week or actually free for ELOP eligible CNSD families. That's our new partnership there, and it's been received very well. And it's just been an amazing partnership there to work alongside the school there. So a couple things. Schools served include Benjamin Franklin, Corona Ranch, Eisenhower, Foothill, Orange, Prado View, Susan B. Anthony, and Temescal Valley. Lincoln Elementary will not be returning per CNSD request this year. They have other programs and services, but we will be able to increase the capacity at our other locations. So there will be no staff turnover, and then if anything, we can accept more kids. So that's all that information right there for you. In November of '22, we took an ask to council at their budget workshop to grow our special events over the next 3 years. Council provided direction to go big and start planning in new elements. For year one, we introduced some enhancement, including our summer street fair. So that was a combination of our concerts with the night market event, and then we were escalating it to provide a true downtown experience. We did the historic centennial celebration. It's a year of events and programming going through September. We did our 4th of July Independence Day celebration, Main Street Independence Day parade, and then, of course, our Halloween weekend and holiday lighting there. So new for year 2 of 3 for the enhanced community events starting in fiscal year 25. Our continued growth pattern includes introducing a Movies in the Park program that actually kick off this summer. We'll take the show on the road and visit our local neighborhoods, complete with projector and all kinds of fun things to do there for families. Just walk over and enjoy their local parks and maybe a little cinema under the stars there. We do want to expand our summer street fair. So this year with the calendar, we believe we can easily squeeze in a 5th night there. I think last year on that last night, it was really sad to see, the series come to a close. So we're excited to take that a little bit longer and, of course, bring in that same great headline entertainment there. We do want to enhance the Halloween weekend with a street style event. We are going to have some construction projects going on, including the Veterans Memorial and also the demolition of Old PD. So why not take that out and put that where everyone can see it, right there in front of the Historic Civic Center on the lawn there, and play up some new elements, including a giant inflatable haunted house. This thing is absolutely massive, and it allows us to do that haunted house experience utilizing volunteers and some of our theater makeup friends to provide a real dynamic experience there, and then kind of move the movies maybe into the theater itself where we can really highlight that architecture, and then bring in some new live stage entertainment and maybe some of our friends like the reptile handlers or little show elements. We do want to continue to enhance the holiday lighting. That is an absolute bookend there to our 4th of July experience. So many people come out, the spirits are so high for the season, and we just want to continue to provide polish and make that really one of our standouts. So this year we do propose a 30-foot professionally decorated tree just to kind of elevate that a little bit more. We want to make sure we have funding for the holiday train ride just in case sponsorships don't come through. With the Old PD area, we're trying to figure out how can we fill that space. It's a lot of area there. It's just going to be grass for the time being. So we would like to introduce a seating and warming area and maybe explore some opportunities like a temporary ice skating rink, or even looking at some of this drone show technology we were learning about at CPRS. And then new, we want to introduce a spring cultural event or a food festival. We're really looking back to classic municipal events or civic events like Founders Day or our Lemon Festival, or this is traditional town fair type experiences. So something we can bring in the spring, line the street, make that open and more inclusive to different audiences. Have a stage there where we can highlight a little bit more of our culture, our different groups in the community, and then maybe end that with a headline performance by a band that would kind of bring everyone together. So I think that would really round out our signature event series for the year. To help us be in more places at once, we'll be introducing a part-time assistant recreation coordinator. Donna just gave me that look like I didn't prove that. So a part-time assistant recreation coordinator. And then we're also asking for some supplies. I know I hear this every year. It's like, how do I hear about the events that you're doing? So we are putting in a line item for additional vinyl banners, more print posters, postcards, professionally generated materials that we can just go old school and make sure they're handed out to our businesses and local partners, so they're more prevalent there in the community. And then we just have a couple technology asks for event radios and a laptop to continue to do what we do and do it well. So speaking of events, 4th of July is coming up quick. We are well underway planning that one. And it is quite the undertaking, but it's always so much fun. Parade applications are now available. So if you or your community members, or if you know any great talent in the community, especially musical entries, we're trying to encourage some participation there. Those applications are now available. New for this year, we have also introduced national anthem auditions. So we're seeking talent from our residents, both young and adult, I will say, seeking individuals who would like to perform at our 4th of July, but we might also be tapping into some of that talent to help out our concerts in the park and other future events as well. And of course, stay tuned to our website. We have a page built out entirely just for the 4th of July, so everything you need to know about the parade, the festival, the fireworks, what food vendors are going to be there, parking information. We'll continue to update that up until, well, actually probably the day of the event. So anything you need to know will be located at that shortened URL there. Okay, and then last, I just wanted to follow up on a comment from our last meeting regarding the safety and security at the Circle City Center. And I just wanted to affirm it is very important for us that all residents feel safe and know they are being looked out for when they enter any of our public facilities. All public facilities are meant to serve the public and should ensure that individuals are entitled to full and equal treatment without discrimination or segregation. To help maintain better line of sight, since our front counter is so far away, and you can kind of see it in the picture there, it's all the way down at the hallway. We have been placing our friendly staff at the entry. We have this concierge desk, and we have staff, volunteers, individuals that are there and are actually greeting our residents as they enter the facility. You'll see Ezekiel there waving his hand. We also have regular staff patrols. We have communication with PD and the HOPE team regarding activity in the area. We're in a busy place, so we like to keep kind of tuned in to what's happening and who our individuals are that are patroning the facilities. We have video monitoring throughout the facility. We do have signage to encourage residents to notify staff if they see anything, to say anything, right? So, and it's just as simple as you can just let us know at the desk. We also provide our number there, so if you just want to call us, maybe you're in upstairs or you just want to be a little bit discreet, there's a direct path to communication. And then, of course, we have visited lockdown evacuation drills for our program participants and staff. And of course, while our team is looking out for the safety of all our guests, we do ask that the parents and caregivers remain on site to support our little ones or individuals that require maybe just a little additional aid. We believe these combined efforts help reduce worry and ensure a positive experience for all of our guests. All right, with that said, I will turn the presentation over to Ms. Bustos for the Facilities, Parks, and Trails update.
Thank you, Mr. Lass. Good evening, Commission. I'm here tonight excited to share our division's update. We will begin with the Facilities, Trails, and Parks new team members. We have Amber Naharo, Senior Office Assistant, Irfin Ravi, Senior Park Ranger, he was promoted, and Moses Ordando Roholo, Senior Park Ranger, and he was also promoted. These new staff you can catch in the community, and Amber will be here in our office at City Hall. We are excited to announce that we have 2 new waste dog stations here in Hagador Meadows. Our park rangers worked on securing these trash cans to have an area where the residents can throw their dog waste and other belongings into these nice trash cans as well. The next slide is our Arbor Day Proclamation celebration. It was held on Saturday, March 16th, 2024, here in the South Lawn of City Hall. We had over 120 volunteers. We planted 12 new trees, 70 small plants, and 60 yards of mulch that was spread out throughout the campus here at City Hall. This opportunity gave the volunteers a sense of place, creating an opportunity to give back and provide and advocating, for a healthier, cleaner, and greener space here. So you can see that throughout City Hall's campus. Our next event will be Saturday, April 20th, 2024. We'll be planting trees at Via Pacifica. Our next update will be the Urban Forest Update. This update, or this program it was established in 2021. The benefits of the urban forest was to have a comprehensive plan to maintain healthier and inclusive green space for our urban forest. We also had goals, and one of the goals, the major goal of this was to plant 15,000 trees over a 5-year period, which would include 3,000 trees per year over a 5-year grid pruning cycle. The annual investment would be over $1.6 million annually to maintain its urban forest program. We are wrapping up our 2nd year within the program, and we are on schedule for the 3,000 trees per year. The program's highlights for the urban forest is number 1, Tree City USA. This is a very prestigious recognition for the city to have this recognition. The number 2 is the Helen Putman Award for Urban Forest Management. Number 3 is the USDA Urban and Community Forestry Grant, which is committed to planting more trees in the downtown area. And number 4, the volunteering engagement, which is heavily received, and a lot of our volunteers do come out and volunteer at our Corona Beautiful events. For fiscal year 25, the Urban Forest Plan, we were presented at the annual spring financial workshop to maintain a 5-year grooming schedule. We also to maintain a 5-year forestry schedule, which would be the 3,000 trees per year. And the change that came out of the spring workshop was to implement a residential pay program for residential service requests outside of the grid program. So we're excited to share the Sheridan Park Community Outreach Engagement. Last month, we came to you with 3 different designs that vendors submitted for the theme, which was a solar system theme for Sheridan Park Playground. And on Tuesday, March 26th through Thursday, March 28th, and Monday, April 1st, we were committed out there and did outreach and engagement to the residents. From the meeting last month, Commission, you voted on 2 different designs, which allowed us the opportunity for the residents to select one of the vendors to move forward with the playground design. At this outreach, we were able to engage the community and ask them their input on the actual design that they're looking for. And it was an opportunity for not only myself, but the staff to see the excitement that the community had and to really see how children engaged in the process. It was one of the most beneficial experiences I've had, and I am excited to share that we selected our playground, and we are going with the Pacific Play Systems. It's one of the I will say this, it was a close race between the two, vendor 1 and 2 that were decided, and the kids really were excited to see this tall slide that will be there in their park. So more details to come, and we are excited for this new playground. And lastly, we have Celebrate Trails Day. We are partnering with the Rails to Trails, Fire, Park Rangers, and the police at Skyline Trails. This will be on April 27th, 2024, from 8 to 12 p.m. We will be providing trail safety information and information on the Corona trails. Please, if you have time, please stop by and stop by our booth as well. I will now be passing the presentation over to Mrs. Finch.
Thank you, Ms. Bustos. So here's just a highlight of some of our upcoming agenda items. Tonight, the commission, as you know, is going to be receiving an update on the operations plan for City Park, as well as a presentation on the final design concepts. We're going to be taking these same 2 presentations to City Council next Wednesday for their study session meeting. So that is upcoming on the horizon. And then we have on April 17th as well, during the City Council meeting, a recognition of the Corona Art Association for the mural at the Senior Center, as well as an update on our co-sponsorship program request for fiscal year 25. And then next month at the commission meeting, we are going to be bringing forward our capital improvement projects for fiscal year 25. And before I wrap up this presentation, I do also want to introduce one more team member from our Public Works Department, Rachel McClure. If you want to wave or stand up, she's over there in the audience. She is our new CIP supervisor that's going to be assisting with our Parks and Facilities projects. We are really excited to have her. She's going to be a critical member of our team. And as you know, we have a lot of projects that are going to be coming forward over the next few years with City Park, with our Park and Rec Master Plan projects and our Trails projects. So we are really going to need Rachel's services, and we're really happy to have her on the team. So that concludes our presentation. Our staff will be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you so much, Ms. Vargas. Are there any speaker cards from the public?
No, Vice Chair, there are no speaker cards.
And do we have any written comments from the public?
No written comments either.
Commissioner Munoz, do you have any comments?
I do, thank you. First of all, I want to thank Rachel for being part of Corona. I've worked with her in Irvine for many, many years, and so it's just it'll be a blessing to be with you again. Thank you so much, Rachel. One question I have for Mr. Lass is, what was the best thing you received out of CPRS Palm Springs?
Mr. Munoz, I think you asked me that last time.
Ask me again.
You know, the more I look back on it, it's absolutely, you know, the innovation, pushing the field further. You know, what can we do as Parks and Rec to really engage with our residents and not just be, you know, idle and rest on what we know, but where can we take it? What's the future look like for us, and how do we remain relevant?
Well, thank you so much for that, because Mr. Lass, Ms. Bustos, and Ms. Finch, we had a great presentation tonight. Eloquently talking about a variety of things that are going to be here this month and actually through the year. So I think it springs from being a person that goes to CPRS and functions within that world, because I keep saying it over and over again. I walk away from those meetings, I feel the vibrancy that you don't really get, because you go from month to month and kind of get lax towards the end, all of a sudden, bam, CPRS, shot in the arm, and you're back on the road again. I found everything here pretty exciting, and a couple questions I had. I'm guessing that the waste stations are at the trail's head, typically, or maybe page 12, Hagedorn Meadows Trail. Are those along the way, every 100 feet, every 200 feet, or just at one location?
I think it's just one location for right now.
I had the opportunity to see people volunteering at the City Hall, planting trees and shrubs and distributing mulch and all. That was exciting, because you really hear the people who are part of the community become interactive with everybody else and getting to know each other and talk about what they're doing that day, and their kids are there smiling and having fun. And it's hard to have a kid smiling and digging a hole at the same time, but because the soil here is like this, pretty tough. You know, we need Moses around to get those those drills going. I find it very exciting. I'm looking forward to Via Pacifica. And I think it's an investment that we have. We talked about that, and $1.6 million sounds expensive, and it is, but it's worth the investment in our urban forest. It brings more fresh air, and it brings a certain ambiance to the whole skyline. When you see trees in front of you, on the side of you, and a part of you, and walking on a sidewalk, you have a certain feeling with that. So the more we can invest in that, it doesn't matter when you begin, it doesn't matter how you continue with the reforestation of our community. So I love the volunteer engagement. And then I really appreciate the fact that you had an opportunity to be a part of that in the park experience with talking to the community about which park design they like the best. And you're right, it's exciting. When I go to a park grand opening, best part of the day is for me is seeing the parents and the kids interacting on a whole different Saturday level, or even Friday, what day it happens. But it pulls the kids together, and become a better family. So whether you have popcorn or not, it's a chance to hold hands and see your kids playing on the rubberized surfacing or swinging or going down slides. And the Trails Day, I keep saying I want to go to that, and I really want to go, but life gets busy for me. But I'm going to try to go to this next one. Don't hold me to that, but I'm trying to. So that's it for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Munoz. Commissioner Kinney, do you have any comments?
Thank you all for your presentations. I have a question really quick on the enhanced community events update. So the annual impact, that's just the financial impact of the enhancements, not the actual programs itself.
Correct. We're investing about $500,000 right now into our special events division as it continues to grow. And then this year we're proposing to increase by another $140,000. Just more enhancement, more event elements, bigger. A lot of this is the contract services for sound, for higher energy and higher renowned bands. And then there's always, more toys and things we can add. But, just to continue to enhance that experience.
Okay. All right. Thank you. And then what kind of stuck out to me is this is the first time that we've seen anything that I can recall, maybe I'm mistaken, but to kind of emphasize or highlight security protocols at a particular facility. So is there something about the Circle City Center that really mandated this, or is it just kind of setting the stage and that's going to be the first one to go, or is this always, and I'm just kind of curious how it came about, why this is kind of new information to us, and if there's something ongoing that you're concerned about.
No concerns really. There was a comment that came from a resident that was addressed to some of the commissioners, and it came out in conversation at our last meeting that Commissioner Olson, I believe, would like to know a little bit more about the security protocol. So we just put together a quick slide, and we want to affirm our residents that the Circle City Center is a safe place. It is a multi-generational facility. We have lots of different activities and fun things going on, but remind you too, as much as we're aware, we would like our parents to remain aware too, and just manage your expectations with any public facility.
Okay, great. Yeah, when my kids were little, they would always have one eyeball on me the whole time. I could never leave. And then the urban forest, that's one of probably my favorite things that the city does. Just out of curiosity, is there any kind of, and I'm probably not even using the right language or terms, but does the city get offset credits for planting trees as far as carbon and all that? There's such a big discussion in California all the time. I just was curious.
We do not, no. Right now, it's mainly just community-driven, and the benefits that we receive are with the volunteer efforts, with expanding our urban forest. So they're all local benefits. Thank you. You're welcome.
Commissioner Wentworth, do you have any comments?
Thank you. Thank you all for the excellent presentation. I just want to take a moment to also thank Commissioner Munoz for his efforts to lift the project of the mural off the ground at the Senior Center. If you haven't been able to go over there and see it, it looks fantastic. And it was a great community effort, really a labor of love. And it was just so fantastic to see that come together. And as far as Commissioner Kinney, I brought this concern of Circle City Center at the last meeting. I wanted an update on the protocol for safety based on resident feedback that we got in our email. And so that was one of my questions. I wanted to thank you for giving me the update, showing the changes, the concierge desk. I can see what's new, and I'm hoping that you guys were able to at least reconnect with that resident via email and let them know there was additional information. So I really appreciate that. You brought it back to the commission and hopefully connected that way. The Arbor Day event was just fantastic. I think City Hall looks great. It's wonderful to see some of the old plantings be replaced and new come in. It's just wonderful to take pride in City Hall like that. So these kind of Corona Beautiful events are fantastic, and I'm really impressed with the calendar that you've got coming for the year forward, and the season forward, so that's great. Mr. Lass, I just had a question. When will the next Corona Connection be published?
The one for the summer? So that has actually been published. It arrived at the post office on Monday. We actually just got our copies in the office today.
So this is the summer?
Yeah, so this is the
Okay.
summer one. So this will take you April through August there. So we publish 3 times a year.
Okay. A couple of things I wanted to say about this magazine. One is that it's gotten better over time, and it's improved quite a bit in the last couple of years. I really like the pictures. It's like, I don't know if any of you cook, but if you get a cookbook and there's all these great recipes with no pictures, it's really not inspiring to make the food without the picture. And so when I flipped through this magazine, I thought it was just really impressive that you guys have really improved on the pictures and the graphics that really advertise what's going on in the city, so that you can see that there's something at the Y, there's, sign up for this or that. Isn't just in a list, but you've got it in a graphic format as well. I think the update in the middle on the Corona magazine is just what we need. I think a lot of cities, when they communicate to their residents, they'll have city manager communication and that kind of thing that moves forward, which whether that's on the website or whatever, it allows the residents to connect with their city to know what's getting built, what changes are happening. And this at-home delivery through the mail is a wonderful vehicle. So I'm glad to see that the published changes for the city were in the middle and highlighted. The only thing I wanted to add was I would say that as far as publishing on the information on the concert series, when I read over that ad, it really didn't hit home that we were going to have a great free concert series with the wonderful bands, and we have put so much, love, attention, and additional funding into really bringing some great musical talent into the city, and that it's free. It really highlighted the street fair aspect of it. So I wanted to give you that feedback that maybe going forward, that equal billing might be nice, because I didn't get the impression that there was that free concert series that really is a great alternative to what's going on in other parts of the city, like at Dos Lagos or with other cities that we're doing this for our community. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there and see if we could, maybe equal bill that. So, but other than that, I thought it was fantastic. I think it's improved quite a bit over the years, so I really appreciate it.
Well, Commissioner Wentworth, I'd love to give a shout out to Jason Lai. He's our program coordinator and editor for the Corona Connection. He does a fabulous job. It takes lots of people kind of compiling all kinds of different information from different sources in a timely manner. And it really takes a stroke of genius to pull that off. Also to our communications team, because all those photos that you love throughout the brochure, we get a lot of help from them. Actually capturing pictures of our real residents in action, doing what they love, and we want to continue to feature that throughout the brochure there. And then one thing I will add that's really tough about traditional print media, especially the brochure, we spend a couple months out of the year working on this. By the time we go to print, these are often out of date. So we were still kind of hinging on some budget approval items with the concert. So we only really had a placeholder, but I'm excited because we have a little bit more funding this year. So we'll continue to push the vinyl banners, and we'll do a lot of more supplementary rollout to make sure the residents are aware of all the great things that we have planned for events this summer, including the movies in the park, which we didn't even include. So we'll be making sure that gets out.
Okay, good. I just wanted to let you guys know that, your work is not going unnoticed, and that I am looking at it
Thank you, Commissioner Wentworth. I did have a couple comments as well. Mr. Last, regarding the Kids Club after-school program, I was just wondering how our 2024-2025 school year compares to this year, and kind of if we've made any changes or what worked or what we're changing to go forward.
So that program continues to do really well. We really listen a lot to the parents in terms of what they want to see in terms of actual programming after school. So we make sure a big word for us is engagement. We don't like to have kids just kind of sitting idle or bored or kind of left to their own devices. And some of that passive play is okay, but we want to make sure it's in a supervised and healthy environment. We also lead activities. We do homework help, all those great things. It's a really enriching after-school environment. Changes for this year, we are losing the site of Lincoln, and that's really just based on the school district. We go where we're wanted and where we're needed. So we have that kind of open relationship. We work with them throughout the year where we needed, and that's where we go. And then our only other change is the fees went up about $30 for the month, which is still an absolute steal. And then there is the ELOP funding, which is new. We just implemented that this year, but that actually provides full coverage for the child. It's actually paid by the school district. So the parents don't have to even worry about that, which is absolutely great.
Is that going to have an impact on the participation rate of the program?
Yes, the sites that are still that are continuing to do really well. We actually still have a wait list at a couple of the sites, but we have actually been able throughout the school year to continue to take people off that wait list as we staff up and make sure we have full and robust programs.
Great, thank you. And then, yeah, I just wanted to comment on the enhanced community events going into year 2 of 3, that I love that we're focusing on that, because it definitely plays to our strengths and is in alignment with the feedback that we heard from the community. So I'm excited to see those changes put in action and kind of unfold. I did have a couple questions. Maybe Commissioner Munoz might be able to chime in here. As far as the grid pruning, what is that?
I can answer that question. So that is the trimming of our trees throughout the city. So right now, we have all of our city trees trimmed every 5 years, which is the grid pruning cycle. So if you have a tree in front of your home in the parkway, you can guarantee that that tree will be trimmed every 5 years. And then our palm trees are trimmed every once a year.
Gotcha. And so there's a schedule over the 5-year period?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, thank you. And then, yes, I did want to say thank you to the Community Services Department to do the outreach and engagement for the Sheridan Park Playground. I love that picture and seeing the kids getting involved there. So that's really exciting. Thank you. Okay, that's all we have for, next up we have our City Park Operations Plan, report by Ms. Finch.
All right, thank you, commissioners. I thought it'd be easier for me to present down here, just so you don't have to turn around to see me present. So thank you for allowing me to present this item tonight. I know it's been highly anticipated to hear the operations plan for City Park. We've been hearing about it, a request for it from our council members as well as the commission for several months. So we're happy to finally be able to present this. Our staff has put a lot of work into this over the last few months. Before I get into the presentation, I just want to give you a quick overview of what we're going to be discussing tonight. So I'm going to start off with just a update on our current recreation programming at all of our facilities and focus in a little bit more specifically on the operations at the Circle City Center, because those are the operations that we are planning to transfer over to the new City Park facility. Then I'm going to get into the proposed programming plan and operations for the new City Park facility, and then wrap it up with a summary of our revenue and expenditure estimates for the operations of City Park. So our ask for the commission tonight is that you receive this presentation and provide feedback on the proposed operations plan for City Park. Before I get into the program overview, I want to just start with a recap of the purpose of the City Park Revitalization Project. As you all know, this was a goal that was identified in our citywide strategic plan back when we did the plan in 2020. Under the goal of sound infrastructure, there was an objective to redevelop City Park, and that objective specifically included the development of a new full-service, purpose-built community center. So to be able to proceed with that, we moved into our Park and Rec Master Plan process, as well as our City Park Master Plan process. Through the Park and Rec Master Plan process specifically, there were some recommendations and findings that came out of that. One of the findings is that the current facilities that we have in Corona are not built for comprehensive recreation programming use. We have a lot of facilities, as you know, that we've acquired over the years, and we've kind of made do with what we have. But we have been finding lately through our programming as well as through the plans that these facilities are not intentionally designed for this. There was also a recommendation that in order to increase the efficiencies of our programs, that we do coordinated programming out of a centralized location. So the redevelopment of City Park will help provide that opportunity. And then through the downtown revitalization process, a key project that came out of that was the revitalization of City Park. It was identified that City Park is an anchor to Corona's downtown, and that the revitalization of the park is a catalyst project that is important within the revitalization of the downtown as a whole. So I'm going to start by just going over an overview of our current program and operations. So where do we currently offer programs throughout the city? Mentioned previously is our Circle City Center. That is where majority of our city programs are run out of. Right now, we have about 45% of our programs that are run out of there, and those include early childhood programs, special interests, adaptive sports, and rentals. In addition to that, we have our senior center. We do have a much smaller percentage of programming that's run out of there, but it's a very important center. It's very highly used, and right now about 3% of our programs are run out of the senior center, and we are at capacity with the amount of programs that we could run there. That facility is full every day, and we are programming it to its maximum ability. Next is our Historic Civic Center, the HCC, which includes the theater, the community room, the HCC gym, and the VAC, which is the Vicentia Activity Center. Right now, we do about 6% of our programs out of there, and that includes theater rentals, kids camp, and sports programs. Then we have our Victoria Park building, which is just a fraction of programming, about 1%. That includes our folklorico dancing and Tai Chi. And then the Brentwood Park building, which is 2% of our programming, and that is primarily early childhood. Then we have our business partner sites. So these are private business entities that run recreation programs out of their sites. We do market those programs in our Corona Connection newsletter. They are partners with the city, so we do consider those city programs. We have about 17% of our programs that are run out of there, and those include karate through the All-American Karate Studio, gymnastics through Gymnastics Pacifica, and some programming through the YMCA. And then lastly, of course, we have all of our city parks spread throughout the city. We have about 26% of our programs operated out of our city parks, and those primarily include youth and adult sports, volunteers, and special events. So this is just another overview of all the programs that we offer with some exciting photos to kind of illustrate what is included in each of those program types. So this slide provides a snapshot of all of the recreation programs that were offered in 2023. The columns in the table break down the programs by number of activities offered, the number of sessions per activity, and the total number of activity days. And then the graphic on the right-hand side helps explain how these numbers are calculated. So the example that we used is Musical Munchkins. Musical Munchkins is one activity that's in our early childhood program category. During the spring session of the year, there were 9 different sessions of Musical Munchkins that were offered, and the 9 sessions or opportunities for the public to register for that program. And there were a total of 72 days of programming for Musical Munchkins that were offered through that specific session. So of all of our programs combined, approximately 17% of those are led in-house by city staff, and 83% are led by contract instructors. And we have our total number of activities, which is 328 that were offered throughout the year of 2023, 1,234 sessions, and over 12,596 to be exact total activity days offered. I just want to note that the contract class model, as you can see, is our primary model of operating programs. This is a very popular model that's utilized at cities throughout the country. It allows us to really tap into some specialized instruction instead of having to go out and hire new staff. So we're able to really expand the amount of programming that we're offered by utilizing contract instructors. This next slide shows our program participation rates in 2022. And it breaks down participation rates by program category. So throughout the year 2023, we had 29,946 total program participants, and all of our programs were at 61% capacity. We also added special events in there just so you have an idea of how many people attend our special events. That's an additional 56,100 participants, but we do not include that in the total program participation category because there really is no limit. Anyone could come to special events, but we do think it's an important number to highlight. Of the numbers that you see here, we have pretty much our highest participation in our adaptive and senior programs. Those are about 98% full. And then the participation lowers gradually down to the after school and camps. Those are just our contract after school and camps. Those are at about 32% full for the programs that are mentioned above. So we mentioned that our programs are at about 61% capacity, and I want to provide a little bit of context as to why we've had some challenges with getting our program participation rates up to where we would like them to be. So there's really several factors that contribute to this. I mentioned previously that we've acquired a lot of sites over the years that we operate our programs out of. Those programs really are not designed for recreation use. They are not purpose-built centers. There's issues with acoustic, the space isn't really ideal for programming, so that's really contributed to the amount of participation that we get in a lot of our activities. We've also, when we first acquired the Circle City Center, the CCC, that building was primarily used as a rental facility, so over the years we had purposely kept rooms vacant in order to be able to allow those to be available for rental use. If somebody came in and wanted to rent the building, or not the building, but the room, we wanted to make sure that that was available. So over time, we've been able to kind of start to correct that. We've started building up our programming model over the last 5 years or so. We have new programs that are coming on board every year. A lot of those are still in development, but we've been really trying to help build awareness of that. And that is a process. It's something that takes time, but it's something that we're working actively towards. And we feel pretty confident that as we start to do more programming, we're surveying the community now. We're hearing more about what kind of programs they want to see, that we'll continue to see this use rise. In addition, marketing up until now has been, we think, a little insufficient. So we've relied primarily just on repeat users coming back to our programs. We do emails to a lot of the people that are on those user lists, and we rely on our Corona Connection. But as Mr. Last mentioned, we have in our budget some additional funding to expand our marketing for special events as well as for some of our programs. So we're going to be really working towards increased marketing over the next year or two. And then just a couple final things that are challenging with participation is a lot of our facilities are difficult to access. So the CCC, for example, we have a shared parking lot with some of the neighboring uses. A lot of times those parking lots, especially during the week, are full because we have businesses that are in session, so it can make it difficult to access the building and be able to park there. Lack of signage, lack of proximity to some of the adjacent neighborhoods where a lot of community centers are really built within neighborhoods. So that's been a challenge as well as lack of vibrancy. So our buildings are, especially the CCC, it's very colorful on the outside, but it is a single-use site. So you go there really for one purpose, to do your program. There's not complementary uses going on surrounding the building. So as we start to move forward with the design and the planning for City Park, having those uses, those that complement each other, multiple things and activities going on site will help make that facility more vibrant, which we think will help contribute to increased participation. So now we want to dive in a little bit more to the Circle City Center specifically. This slide just gives you an overview of the operating hours. The facility is open Monday through Saturday for programming and reservations. Sunday, it is closed for programming, but it is open for reservations only from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. For our staffing right now at the CCC, we have 5 full-time staff that are dedicated to the operations and maintenance. That includes 1 supervisor, 2 program coordinators, and 2 office assistants that provide customer support. In addition, we have about a dozen or so part-time staff that come into that building, 1 assistant recreation coordinator, 2 to 3 community services leaders that cycle through different days, and we also have a variety of contract instructors, as mentioned, that provide instruction in several programming types, including dance, early childhood, fitness, sports, and special interest. This slide here just shows the use trends of the CCC by age cohort. So we have this broken down by morning, afternoon, and evening hour blocks. So primarily during the mornings and early afternoons, you typically see more of the active senior programming that isn't offered at the senior center. We do some senior programming at the CCC. We also have a lot of our adaptive programs there, as well as our early childhood programs. And then in the late afternoon into the evening, you'll start to see more of the sports uses come in. We have adult and special interest classes, including dance classes, Python coding, et cetera. And a lot of our reservations are really in the evening hours as well. And this slide here is just kind of a neat graphic that we wanted to put together that shows the use trends throughout the day. So the orange line shows the programming trends. The facility right now can accommodate up to 500 people. And in the morning hours, when we have the seniors coming through, the early childhood, the adaptive, we see a pretty good spike right in the morning for programming levels. And then in the afternoon, the programming starts to dip. So we'll see a lull right there between the afternoon hours. And then in the evening, we pick up again when we get the active adults coming in, the sports programs, the school-age children coming in for programs. We'll start to see some spikes there in the evening as well. For reservations, that's the green line. That typically starts out very slow. We have very few reservations in the morning hours, but then those will start to pick up in the afternoon, and then into the evening is where we see most of our reservations coming through. But the challenge that we are really tasked with the new City Park programming plan is to try and close that gap, especially in the afternoon hours. And we have some programming that we're going to be proposing that we think will help do that. This last slide in this section just shows the program and operations costs right now for the CCC, and we included City Park in there as well because when you combine the two, that'll kind of give you a good comparison of what we're going to be proposing for expenditures for the new City Park facility. So for Circle City Center specifically, we have about just a little over $1.5 million in annual expenditures for personnel, services, and supplies, and operations and maintenance. And then City Park provides an additional $131,000 for a combined total of just over $1.6 million. For revenues right now, we're bringing in just over $777,000 in projected revenues for fiscal year 24 for our programs combined, and this includes both youth and adult sports, our contract and city-led classes, as well as reservations, which are primarily at the CCC. So with those two combined, we have a subsidy, city subsidy right now of about $869,513 projected for fiscal year 24 for our current programs, which is about 52% of the operating budget. And this number I'm going to come back to as we get into the projected revenues and expenditures for City Park, just to provide a comparison. So for the future City Park operations, just to touch quickly again, I know you're all very familiar with the City Park master planning process, but this just helps set the framework for what we are proposing with the new City Park facility. As you know, the master plan process started in June of 2022. It was an 18-month process that was really heavily community-driven. We did a lot of marketing and outreach with the surrounding community, as well as the larger Corona population as a whole. Through that outreach, we collected about 2,100 survey responses, and the final master plan was adopted by the City Council with the recommendation of the Commission on July 19th, 2023. So through that public engagement for City Park, the most popular amenities that were identified during our outreach process were additional walking trails, playgrounds, picnic shelters, gardens and landscaping, space for events and music festivals, a new community center, multi-generational, a splash pad, and a new aquatic center. Those were the most popular. Nearly all of the amenities that are identified on this list, with the exception of baseball fields, we are happy to say are planned for in the new design for the City Park Revitalization Project. So we're really excited to see that not just the most popular amenities, but almost all of the amenities that the community wanted to see are going to be able to make it into this new site. And then going on to the programming side, so with the Park and Rec master planning process, we did some additional outreach to find out the types of programs that the community would like to see, not just at City Park, but throughout the city. So some of the programs that scored the highest are cooking classes, arts and crafts programs, outdoor activities, life skill classes, wellness activities, and the gym and fitness center. So with the new City Park facility, we are going to be able to accommodate most of those programs, which we have highlighted here in the yellow overlay. And then with the upcoming renovation that is going to be proposed for the Historic Civic Center, which is going to be designated for arts, we'll be able to close that gap and fill the rest of those needs. So we are very excited that with these two big projects, we're going to be able to not only provide the amenities that the community wants to see, but also the programs that they want to see. So again, just circling back to City Park, this is really going to be the solution to all of the challenges that we're seeing at the CCC right now and some of our other facilities. We, again, are going to have a new purpose-built multi-generational community center where we can provide programs for different age groups as well as different cultural groups. We are also proposing a new gym and swim facility with a workout room, a dance studio for fitness classes, a gymnasium that will be striped for basketball, volleyball, and pickleball activities, a new aquatic center with a recreation pool and competition pool, as well as a large community canvas and a market plaza with ample space for large-scale events, both city events as well as that site will be available for rent for outside events. And then, of course, a passive park for leisurely activities with walking loops, playgrounds, and sports courts. So just getting in a little bit more specifically to some of the programs that we are planning to provide at City Park, we are really happy to say that there's going to be something for everyone. As we mentioned, we're going to have the new aquatic center with programs including Learn to Swim, Lap Swim, Recreation Swim. We'll have the banquet room that's available for large celebrations, nonprofit use, awards, dances, fundraisers, trainings, classroom space for different types of lectures, special interest programs, small group rentals, the community canvas, as you know, for large-scale events. We'll have a rentable conference room for meeting space, the dance and fitness studio for workout classes, a game room for passive use space, gymnasium with multi-sport court activities, creative spaces, the market plaza, plenty of room for outdoor programs, playgrounds, walking loop, pump track, which we are excited to introduce today. I don't want to steal Rios' thunder with that, but they're going to have some exciting news to share with the final design, as well as a splash pad, sports court, and workout room. So this just gives kind of a snapshot of a daily programming schedule, and we have the legend on the sidebar that shows color-coded the different types of programs that are going to be offered. And again, we mentioned a few times that it's going to be a multi-generational facility, so we're going to have programs going on for early childhood, senior programming, youth, adults, special interests, adaptive, and those are going to be spread throughout the day. So as we mentioned, an example could be seniors that could come out in the morning for fitness activities and then take a class or hang out in the game room during the afternoon. A mother could also bring her child to a Tiny Tots class and then work out in the fitness room or take a sewing class at the same time. So these activities are really kind of designed for anybody to kind of come at any time throughout the day, and there's something that they can do, whether it's a programmed class, a fitness activity, or even just a passive drop-in use. So this slide here, we're really kind of excited to show. I stole this from Rios from one of the projects that they did before, but this shows just kind of an example of somebody who might just want to come and spend the day at City Park. It's not just going to be a park or a community center, but we really want this to be a lifestyle center. And this could just be any given person. I'm kind of showing just kind of a typical adult with this example. But at 7 a.m., someone can come and work out in the community gym. At 8 o'clock, they could head over to the gymnasium to play pickleball. They could go over to the pool at 9 o'clock and swim laps. And then at 10 o'clock, they could go over to the game room and play ping pong. Then they can head over at 11 o'clock and take a class on financial planning in the classroom space. At 12 o'clock, they could head over to the Market Plaza, where we hope to have food trucks there. They can have lunch with friends, spend some time catching up. 2 o'clock, they could go over to the lobby, check their emails, catch up with other friends and acquaintances. 3 o'clock, head outside, get some sun, relax, and read a book in the community canvas. 4 o'clock, head back to the classroom space to take a scrapbooking class. 5 o'clock, go over to the sports courts, play a few games of basketball with their friends and family. And then wrap up the day by taking an evening stroll throughout the walking loops. So again, we really want this site to be dynamic, have a lot of activities, vibrancy going on, where somebody can come and really spend the whole day here if they chose to. So with all of the new programs, there, of course, are going to be some additional staffing needs. We are happy to say that the programming aspect of it, a lot of that is going to be covered by our existing staff that we have, not only at the CCC, but also at some of our other offsite locations. So specifically for programming, we are only really anticipating one new position with probably multiple people filling that position, but that's the fitness instructors. All of the other positions that are in black, those are the existing positions, are going to be transferred over or having more of their time allocated towards CCC programming specifically. And then for our aquatics program is where we really see the biggest need for new staff to come on board because, as you know, we discontinued aquatics back in fiscal year 21. So bringing that back on board is going to require additional staff to be added in. Those staff are going to be 100% dedicated to the new City Park facility. And then for our building staff, we, of course, are going to need people there manning the front desk. We're proposing at least probably 2 people at the front counter at all times, as well as somebody over at the fitness area to be able to check people in there. We also are going to have some community services leaders that are providing support and floating and setting up throughout the building. And then because this is going to be a heavily programmed site with a lot of use and activity, we want to make sure we have a dedicated maintenance staff person or 2 on board. So we're proposing a lead maintenance technician to specifically dedicated to City Park, both the outdoor and indoor maintenance activities and coordinating all of those, as well as a facility maintenance assistant to help with some of the setup and tear down, as well as some of the basic maintenance throughout the building. All right, so moving on to financial sustainability. As you know, with the Park and Rec Master Plan, cost recovery was a big component of that, and our financial sustainability model included a model for cost recovery. So this model helps provide some guidance for recovery levels on a continuum of 0 to 120% based on program type. Programs that have a greater common good, such as parks and wellness and community events, are more heavily subsidized. And then as you start to go up the scale, programs that provide more of an individualized benefit, such as skill building activities, workshops, and facility reservations, are going to have little to no subsidy. So we are taking steps right now with our new fee schedule to start to implement some of the recommendations in this model. But with City Park, we're going to be able to take some larger steps, primarily through a hybrid revenue model for revenue generation. So one of the things that we're going to be proposing with City Park is a membership fee model for the fitness amenities. So the monthly membership fee would include unlimited access to the workout room, fitness classes, gymnasium, and aquatic center. Again, this would help with some of the cost recovery that has been identified in the Park and Rec Master Plan, and to bring in some revenue to make sure that this is a long-term financially sustainable facility. In addition to that, we'll continue to offer some of our traditional use fee programs. So for those who might want to use the fitness amenities but don't want to commit to a monthly membership, we would offer day passes for drop-in use for all of those same amenities that are included with the membership. We'll also continue to have our seasonal registration for our sports programs, our classes, including early childhood, youth, adult, and special interest, as well as our youth camps. And then, of course, we'll have private reservation options available for the room space there. So that includes the banquet room, the conference room, and those will be probably the highest rented rooms that we will make available majority of the time for rental. And then some of the other rooms that are reserved for programming during the week on the weekends when we're not programming those spaces, such as the classrooms, the gymnasium, the pool, those will be available for rental as well. And then lastly, we want to make sure that we are still providing opportunities for free passive use throughout the park. We don't just want this to be a facility that people have to pay to use. We want people who might just want to go and, do some leisurely activities have the ability to do that. So there will continue to be free public use of certain amenities, including the game room, playground, community canvas for special events, city-run special events specifically, the splash pad, the sports courts, walking loops, pump track, and community canvas. So going back to the membership model, while we were trying to determine what an appropriate fee would be for the membership model, is we looked at several other agencies that offer similar types of fitness amenities, including other cities, nonprofits, and private organizations. For local governments, the membership model is still emerging. We don't see a ton of local governments offering this just yet, but it is starting to be utilized more and more. But we did find 5 cities that offer a comparison on pricing. The prices for memberships at other cities range from $22 to $82 a month for individual memberships and $44 to $112 a month for family memberships. Cities that have the double asterisk next to them don't have an aquatic center, so their price is a little bit lower, and that reflects that lack of amenity. So I just wanted to make sure we highlighted that. And then they also offer the day passes. We have a breakdown of what the ranges of those day passes that are available for adults, seniors, youth, and family. Next, we looked at the nonprofit agencies. For the YMCA especially, this is a very popular model. They utilize memberships quite a bit. We looked at 3 YMCAs within kind of the general Southern California region, YMCA Redlands, Fullerton, and Whittier. And we saw prices for the Y range from $45 to $57 per month for individual memberships and $72 to $99 a month for family memberships. And then lastly, the private organizations, we think these are going to be primarily our biggest competitor because these are the local fitness amenities that people have available to them. So we looked at Choose Fitness, 24-Hour Fitness, and LA Fitness. Those prices range from $27 to $59 a month for individual memberships. They do not offer a senior or family membership. So based on these prices, we came up with a membership pricing schedule that we feel is fair and competitive with the prices that we've seen, and also provides a great value for what you receive. So we are proposing $30 a month for an adult membership, $20 a month for a senior membership, $55 for a family. And I do want to note family includes 2 adults and up to 4 children. And then pricing at $8, $6, $4, and $15 for drop-in use, depending on who's buying the ticket and how many people you have coming in. So based off of all of the membership as well as the other revenue sources that we are anticipating, we have total revenue estimates listed on this slide right here. So for memberships, which are based on about 1,000 memberships, that we feel pretty confident we can achieve with the amount of people that we have participating in our programs. We're estimating roughly $405,000 annually coming in just from the memberships. For drop-in activities, which is based on a conservative estimate of about 5 to 10 passes per day, we feel that most of the people that are going to be using those fitness amenities are going to be members, but we want to make sure we're accounting for that drop-in revenue as well. That's about $147,000 per year. And then for rentals, which is going to be our biggest revenue generator, this is based on about 6 hours of daily average rentals for our banquet room, courtyard, and conference rooms specifically, because those are our primary rental amenities. And then, as mentioned, for the weekends, we're going to be having the other spaces available for rent. That estimate is coming in at $998,000 annually. And then programs are based on an average program participation rate of 75%, which I know we mentioned right now we're at about 61%, but we feel confident that with the added complementary uses and the program enhancements that we can get to 75% with City Park. We're estimating just over $837,000 annually. So that gives us a grand total of $2,389,000 in estimated annual revenue just for City Park. So our overall budget projections now, here's the revenue items that I just mentioned previously. For expenditures, we are estimating just over $2 million for personnel. That includes both existing personnel as well as the new personnel that were identified on the previous slide. $573,000 for supplies, which is an increase of about 25% over our current supply budget to account for the additional uses. And then just over $761,000 for combined operations and maintenance of our facility, building, parks, splash pad, and pool, which gives us a total estimated expenditure budget of $3,385,293. So factoring the revenue that we're going to anticipate bringing in, as well as the estimated expenditures, we are anticipating a total subsidy for City Park of $996,227, which is 29% of the expenditure budget that is going to be subsidized with city revenues. And then bringing back up what we are currently subsidizing right now for the CCC activities, we had $869,513 at a 52% subsidy. So the difference right now we're estimating is going to be about an additional $126,714 to operate the new city park. So just to get into some, briefly, some additional revenue generation opportunities that we are going to start to pursue and continue to pursue once the new facility is up and running, we're going to be looking at grants. So First Five offers grants for Learn to Swim programs. Any child under the age of 5 can be fully subsidized for that program. We are going to pursue this. That's something that we hope to have available with our new aquatics program. We're also going to be looking at the Inland Regional Center. They do offer grants for adaptive programming. We're going to be pursuing that as well. Partnerships, we'll be pursuing several partnerships. One that we identified here is with healthcare providers. They offer a Silver Sneakers program that offers subsidized or reduced rates for healthcare activities for seniors. So for seniors that may want to get the fitness membership, that could be potentially subsidized at a percentage or maybe even fully through Silver Sneakers programs. We'll also be looking at corporate sponsors through our local businesses and nonprofits, as well as private sponsorship and donations from our residents, including a donation tree and potentially even naming rights of some of our programs or maybe some rooms within the facility, depending on direction that we get on that. So in summary, we feel very strongly that the CCC's challenges are going to be city parks opportunities. With a new purpose-built community center, we're going to have solutions to a lot of the problems that we see right now at the CCC. Acoustics, of course, is one of them. Anyone that's been to an event in the banquet room and has had an activity going on above, you can hear all the uses kind of going on simultaneously. The facility will be designed to help provide a buffer with different wings for different types of uses to make sure that those noisy uses are kind of contained in one space with the quieter uses in another. It'll be built intentionally for recreation. It'll have sufficient lighting and shade, both throughout the park as well as within the building. We'll have ample programming opportunities, plenty of parking, a lot of passive use spaces and opportunity, as well as proximity to park space, and of course, friendly, available staff to help greet our residents and our customers as they come throughout those sites. So just to wrap it up, our ask again is that the Park and Rec Commission receive this report and provide any feedback. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Finch. Ms. Vargas, are there any speaker cards from the public?
No, Vice Chair, no speaker cards. Sorry, Vice Chair, we do.
Well, so when this whole park thing came up, and I, was bristling at the term campus and how this isn't going to be a park anymore, I kind of got poo-pooed. And of course it's going to be a park. It's going to be a park. It's just going to have a couple new buildings. Bullshit. Straight up bullshit. This is a campus. This is the reason why nobody's at Circle City Center, because you can't go to Circle City Center. I tried to rent a room one time at the Circle City Center. You can't rent the Circle City Center. Circle City Center was built by the city for the city's uses as a rental permit. It wasn't recycled. It wasn't reused as something else. They gutted it to the walls and rebuilt it as a rental facility. It's a shitty one. It doesn't work. It's dumb. It's not, the only thing you can go in there and do is maybe if you can talk some of the kids into playing, you can play pickup basketball. That's the only thing you can do there. So I guess it does that okay, but that's it. You know, and now it's basically going to be LA Fitness with trees. That's cool. You know, that's not a park. That's not a park. It's basically this building where anybody would come here and not necessarily have it be. This is not anybody's building. This is the city's building. That's going to be the city's park. That's going to be the city's center. It's not going to be the community center. You got to have a membership. You got to pay. You can't just. It's going to be all blocked up. I guess you can walk around the park. You know, you can walk around the trails. You know, just it's really disheartening. I mean, the whole and the nonsense about, you know, people. This is to serve the local area. Yeah. I ask the people in the local area if they want to, you know, an LA Fitness in the park. You know, that's what this is about. You know, this is a South Corona solution to a North Corona park, is what this is. This is just as ridiculous. This is wrong. This is overbuilding it. This is, you know, my dad used to call it cutting off your nose to spite your face. We have a thing we don't like that's happening at the park. So all the South Corona people are on the yap list talking about how horrible the park is. Well, the park is not horrible. The park's beautiful. The park's got lots of trees. It's a park. It's like, unlike a lot of other parks, this is an actual beautiful original park. And now it's not going to be that anymore. This is just going to be another typical nonsense redeveloped, you know, like a terrarium sort of a thing, you know, with membership fees. You know, I mean, and forget all about, oh, this is supposed to serve the local area. Forget all about that stuff. You know, that's what that is. So and it was fascinating. It's 5 cities. One of them happens to be the city where our city manager was the guy who ran the parks. So before he became a city manager for the first time, he ran the parks there in Gilbert, Arizona. And the fact that there's only 5 should tell you something about, you know, why you don't run this. Thank you.
Ms. Vargas, are there any written comments from the public?
No, Vice Chair, no written comments.
Commissioner Munoz, do you have any comments?
I do. I thank you, Joe, for your words. I was very impressed by your presentation tonight, Ms. Finch. It was well-structured. You know, you told us what we're going to hear first. You tell a story, paint a picture, and then you told us what we heard, and then it's going to lead into tonight's presentation. So I'm looking forward to that. So I can understand under the sheets there will be a very dynamic and very invigorating plan that we're going to see. But I see the project, I see the money being spent, I see it as an opportunity. The park's over 100 years old, and its best days are probably in the past, and it's evolved over the years. So with the presentation I'm hearing about, we're going to take pieces of the puzzle and make major improvements. And so again, I see that as an opportunity to move forward into the future with our families. Families aren't even here yet. They're moving to Corona with their children. Will be able to take part in a well-designed park experience. And I'm looking forward to being a part of that because my grandchild is 9 years old, but he'll be coming to see us on a weekly basis, more or less, hopefully. And we can go ahead and be a part of the park experience. And I've been there before as a scouter, and with Alex, we had Easter Sundays there with candy and 18 different rows of different kids, and it was very impressive. And impressive about it because the parents are being able to see a free opportunity to be there with their kids and see some smiling going on. You can't really buy that. And for the money we're spending here, it's a spent money in a nice place. So I'll give some more feedback after I hear it.
Commissioner Kinney?
So we don't always agree, and I think that this might be one of those times. I think there's a lot of unspoken information in this presentation. The contrast with the Circle City Center, and then this is going to fix all our problems. And it just kind of leaves me wondering, what's the fate of the Circle City Center? Do we really think that programming is a problem because the outside of the buildings are painted bright and the inside is lacking? insufficient marketing. I don't understand how a new facility fixes insufficient marketing. So a lot of that just kind of leaves me I just feel like there's something that's not being said, and I don't know what is the future of the Circle City Center. Are we going to hold it, continue to program it, or not? It sounds like it's a horrible asset if you read through all of this. Maybe it is. I don't know. It's not. I thought it was odd to bring that in. I don't know how else to have done it differently, but it kind of hit me wrong. I have some questions. So, what limits capacity? Is that just room space, or is it instructors, or is it, I would think that there's more than one thing that's limiting capacity. I see some things on here that we have no problem with. And then you have others, like the seniors are at 98%. You look at the proposed programming, and there's hardly anything for the seniors on there. So I'm just curious about, that's my first question, I guess, is what limits capacity currently?
So it's a combination of both. It depends on the program. A lot of the programs are, the max capacity is 24 students. That's kind of the average per instructor. So typically we'll cap a program at 24 students. But if it's a larger sports program that's in the gymnasium, a lot of those are based off of room size. So it just depends on the program type.
Okay. So, and that's for the kids, or that's for adults, or doesn't matter, the seniors?
They all have different metrics not different metrics for every single one, but it just really depends on the actual program or the type, and that's across the board. For early childhood, you usually have a smaller student to teacher ratio because the teacher needs to be able to, provide proper supervision for the number of kids, so that'll have a smaller, that's really based off of the ratio of student to teacher. As you start to get into some of the larger, adult classes or the senior classes, line dancing, for example, senior line dancing, you put that in the gymnasium, that's something where we can fit, up to 100, 150 seniors. So it really depends on the program.
Okay. And then, when you look over and you switch over to the staffing needs, and that you're going to transfer, you're going to transfer 80% of the rec supervisor job duties over to City Park. So you've got all these people whose jobs are going to be transferred at more than half of their daily time. Are you that overstaffed that you're not going to miss them over at the Circle City Center, or is there not going to be as much over there? That's not spelled out, and it's really confusing. I'm just wondering if they're over there playing tiddlywinks. It doesn't make any sense without the right context.
Commissioner Kinnan, can I jump in really quickly? The City Council has given us direction to pursue a sale of the Circle City Center. So all of these are based on the assumption that the council has directed us to sell the Circle City Center to help fund the development of the City Park building. So this isn't out of the blue. It was direction from the council for us to pursue these models based on that.
Okay. I think that would be helpful in the presentation because it really brings context. And you can hear my questions. It just kind of is odd.
No, those came out in the last set of meetings, and so I'm sorry that wasn't more clear previously.
And then, so the membership models. So I understand that you had a hard time finding a lot of examples, but I'm wondering how the demographics compare. Morgan Hill, California, it's not the same demographics as Corona, California. And when I look at what you're anticipating your revenue to be based on, just simple division, how many memberships you're planning on selling, that's like less than 1% of the population of Corona if they got an individual membership a year. And I'm just kind of wondering how you came up with that, and is there going to be a limit on memberships, or what's the backup plan if less than 1% doesn't want one? Or it's such a when we were talking about this all along over the past year, there was never mention of membership, that this park was going to be a membership type place. And so, I have a problem. It reminds me of the toll lanes, you've got taxpayers that are paying for the creation of the lanes, and now you got to pay to use it. And so I understand the dilemma, and that's why I'm kind of been hesitant of spending all this money, because you've got to recoup it. But anyways, those are my quick questions. And then I don't know why you have a skateboard under the pump track. If that's on your little pictures here, what kind of pump track that is. But anyways, I look forward to the next presentation. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Commissioner Wentworth, do you have any comments?
Thank you. Yes, I do. First of all, I think that this presentation is not making clear that what we're looking at is a community center operation budget. And it's being conflated with the Circle City Center, the way this was presented. And I think that the staff is making their best spitball guess at what would transfer from the Circle City Center into the community center without giving the commission what we're actually, and probably the council too, what we're actually asking for, which is how many additional community members will a community center serve? To that, you do not have an estimated answer through any kind of comparables and research for us based on our population. We've got 157,000 people in this city, and we know that the Circle City Center is reaching, as we spoke, maybe 5,000 unique visits. So 5,000 people out of 157,000 people based on our current census data. You should be able to extrapolate a better profile for us, and the council would be my recommendation to move forward with this presentation or your next iteration of this as you go forward in the planning. That there are, based on census data, there are roughly 45,000 households in Corona. 50.6 of those households have children under the age of 18. So that's roughly half. 30% of the people that live in Corona are under the age of 18. So you should be able to come back to us and say, our hopes and aspirations are that we are missing the target on serving our children and our families. And a community center fits that need in these ways. And our projected revenue versus cost isn't really the issue here. It's actually how many people do we plan on serving with a community center? And I think that the hardest part for the council and the commission is that in the Inland Empire, there are very few examples of community centers. We can't just pick up and drive to a community center and see a fully functioning community center. You can go to Orange County, you can go to Bray and Fullerton, and you can see the Y and the city partner together and run a community center, not staff it with city staff, but partner it with the YMCA. If you leave California and you look in other parts of California, you leave the state, you will see successful models of the YMCA brand and a county or a city partner together to share that expense, to build not from a marketing perspective like Corona's presenting here, which is a ground zero marketing perspective. You already have a brand with the Y. The YMCA is known in the state for memberships, for fitness, for classes. It doesn't mean that the partnership is exclusively, we build this building and the YMCA gets to run it. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about exploring the partnership of the YMCA participating with the city to provide services that are community-driven, that are needed, wanted, and desired, and the city also backstop that with their staff where needed. But it shares that employee problem. Instead of hiring city staff with all the encumbrance of a city staff person, insurance, pension, workers' comp, everything that goes with that, the partnership alleviates some of that added expense by allowing the YMCA to present the staff, to do the classes, to do the childcare. That is the main thing that I thought we were talking about when we were looking at the Parks Master Plan, that we came forward to the city with that master plan and the commission with recommendations that we pursue every partnership that we could finagle. And I don't see that here. What I see is an aquatics program that is being proposed to be run and staffed by the city. We currently have an aquatics program being run and staffed by the YMCA utilizing Auburndale. I am suggesting and recommending that the staff move forward with, since we are in a discussion phase of what a community center looks like, what our target would be, how many people we're trying to serve. In addition to that, moving forward with that, and what do partnerships look like for aquatics? What do partnerships look like for the community center? That is not being explored here, and I think that ultimately affects the bottom line. That affects how you're going to come back to the council and say, this is how much it's going to cost. I lived through, with my children, the failure of Corona's aquatics program. And I say that because my children have 5 years between them. I moved here when my son was like 2.5, turning 3, and my daughter had not been born yet. So with 5 years between the two kids, I was in aquatics for like 12 years. And I witnessed a program, one that couldn't meet the needs of the community and was functioning and trying to run programs in the high school pools and the city park pool. Then losing the ability to staff those high school pools, then moving it to just the city park pool, then losing the ability to maintain the staff and the lifeguards there. And being on the commission as well for almost 8 years, I not only lived it with my children, I lived it up here. And I was very excited when the YMCA came forward with a wonderful partnership for the city to work and bring back aquatics in such a limited capacity because we just have the one small pool. So they're doing a great job. They don't just do swim lessons, they do fitness classes, and they have a lot to offer. So my recommendation would be to move forward with this presentation with partnerships explored and discussed in a further context, and that is very much needed. And I don't believe that we should be talking about how much this is going to cost when we haven't talked about offsetting the cost in that direction. I think it's probably pretty inaccurate as far as the estimations.
So real quick, Commissioner Wentworth, if that is the recommendation that the majority of the commission agrees with, then we can forward that to the City Council with our presentation next week.
I don't know if you guys agree or not with me. I mean, that was just my opinion.
Does anyone have background information on how the city park pool operated when it was open?
We had swim classes in the summer.
Was it like a membership or?
No.
Now, Mr. Last can provide some more information on that.
Yeah, I saw really the tail end of that there, but we did operate at 3 pools at one point, including Auburndale, City Park Pool, and then Centennial, and we were operating seasonal Learn to Swim programs. So that included your Red Cross various levels, some specialized courses, and then also the lap and recreation swim elements. Commissioner Wentworth is correct. The last few years, we did struggle in the operation of that. We had a difficult time retaining staff, procuring staff. I think there's a lot of things like if we could have had restarted or done it differently, they would have probably enhanced the operations there. But it squeaked by. It was offering some, but I think based on demand, we just didn't quite have the facility that was really built, to operate a high caliber program and also support various additional needs. Also, it was only seasonal. We didn't have year-round operations, and that's something that could definitely go more into this community. I think there's a lot of demand for lap swim and triathlete training and aqua Zumba and all kinds of different things that we just didn't have the correct resources for.
Right. So I think the pool time is extended because of the heat. We are talking about an outdoor pool, and even though we had that before with City Park, we couldn't keep lifeguards employed. It's the YMCA has a different offering for their employees than the seasonal employees of the city. It's going to have to staff and train and just keep this rotating wheel going. So that's why I was recommending that we suggest that the presentation needs to explore partnerships before it walks forward with numbers and estimates, and that will affect the bottom line. And that was part of the park master plan. That was what the direction was from the consultant. The idea meaning that if we do those partnerships, we can get into more specialty and community-driven classes, and all those things come forward. The YMCA, they of course operate with offering memberships as well. People are used to that. They're used to seeing the YMCA as a very economical way to do a lot of different activities within a membership fee. I would like to see, more comparison models and how that would translate here if we did it. I don't think that even just talking about like the unlimited fitness classes with a membership fee, I think that's premature. You're not going to allow someone to come in here and do an unlimited fitness for $20 a month for fitness classes when you've got contract classes going on, and those instructors are expecting to be per capita reimbursed, per head. So the idea is that policy would have to be really revised and looked at. So it's just to me, it's just kind of to give you guys an idea of what could happen in a community center. But I think that some of this looks a little premature. So I would like to see more discussion in this direction of, what that membership looks like, models, if it was run within the city versus if you brought in a partner like the YMCA, where, again, there's a lot of benefits to that. You're not starting with ground zero branding. You're starting with people being already familiar that the Y is a community center. In Corona, we've traditionally provided childcare, but that's not how they operate everywhere else. That's only how it has been here. So it's time for the community to adjust. As we drive by a community center building, people know that something different is going on at this park, that there's a centralized place for activities. So I think some of these points are needed to be probably clarified in a following presentation. Those are my recommendations, and I don't know what you guys want to go along with I'll let you, Stacy, take it from there.
I'm also happy to answer any questions that you have about the membership model, or how we came to any of these calculations. So rather than sort of speculate, we're happy to answer the questions that you have if you'll articulate them for us so we can answer them.
So, in response to Commissioner Wentworth, I'm thinking, is it possible to see past, like how our partnership models have worked as far as the sharing of the expenses? Like, do we know those numbers?
Well, I think that what I'm asking for is that they look outside of the city and look at other places that are utilizing the partner, other community centers that are currently utilizing the Y or another partner to offset those employee costs and those programming costs so that they're not staffing it and running it 24/7.
Right.
And so typically cities and counties go in with a partner, they're providing some staff, but not all of the staff. That model isn't really being discussed here in this, and I'm saying that considering we're also not getting the number of what their target is. I appreciate that you're willing to answer any questions, but I would say come back with a more accurate look at how community centers get active in what the percentages fluctuate for a population base. So you've got 157,000 people in Corona, 180,000 in the sphere of influence. So you're going to reach out into the sphere of influence, right? You can't use the Circle City numbers to project what you're going to get out of this community center. Come back to us with something that's more realistic. What does Bray and Fullerton get, right? You're sitting there with 250,000 people outreach. Are they hitting 1% of that population? Are they hitting 0.5% of their seniors there, and then the other 3% go to a designated senior center? Because we're talking about our senior center going to max capacity right now, and we have a fabulous program coordinator and employee that runs the senior center and has grown it tremendously, and with the direction and help from Mr. Lass, they've made such strides in the last 3 years that they're bursting at the seams. So this community center takes some of that overflow. Seniors are not a monolith, so you're going to have more active seniors and more seniors that are on the frail side. I can't imagine the seniors wanting to come to this community center and pay drop-in fees when you can get the free at the senior center. So I think, again, these little details are necessary to kind of maybe discuss and explore a little further into the future here.
So I've got a question. We've proposed an operations model that looks at cost and revenue because that's what we were directed to do. Are you asking us to provide an estimate of how many people we serve just as a supplement to that?
I am asking you to project what you would serve with the community center, given the scope and scale of what you're trying to do with this building and the park.
So those are the assumptions that were made that Ms. Finch talked about. We believe that at a minimum, we could sell 1,000 memberships for fitness and fit and swim. Additionally, using conservative numbers, that's how we would staff those classes that were presented. And she went through each of those as the assumptions, including the costs for those classes, day by day, each week, for the entire year on a fully staffed community center. That's how we came to those numbers. A lot of thought went into that, and I'm happy to discuss any of those assumptions. And you were also offered a walkthrough by Ms. Finch for any of those details.
Right.
So I believe that we've met the thing that we were asked to do, and I'm actually asking you for some additional understanding of where the problem is. One of the models that we looked at was Provo, Utah. Over 100% cost recovery run by staff, city staff. So they built a model where you actually had all of your other creative classes as well, not just fitness. All of those were rolled into their membership cost. This is not a new model. This is maybe a new model to California. But those other classes that would be hosted in other areas would be open in the same way that we host other classes. For example, if you had a sewing class, if you had a macrame class, or whatever class that is, that would be just hosted in one of the classrooms, would not require a membership. It would be just like any of the other classes that we offer through our regular programming. So if we assume that we would get the same number of participants that we get in those classes, and we once again built the model day by day, hour by hour, that's where our revenue projection comes from. The other portion, which is the fit and swim, comes from a very conservative estimate that we would get 1,000 memberships. We also priced it below that YMCA membership model because we believe that we can provide that same service. If there's not trust that we can run that, we can always reevaluate. Nevertheless, what we did was we projected what we could do based on what we currently operate at and where we believe the demand is. So I'm happy to walk through any of those assumptions
So what
or any of those
percentage-
details with any of you.
Okay, so what percentage of the population are we serving now?
So we have 5,000 unique users in our recreation programs.
Okay. And you're saying we're expanding our capacity, we're expanding our aquatics, we're expanding our ability for the seniors to utilize programming. What's your goal? What's the percentage that you hope to hit with your expanding? This is what's not clear in this presentation, which I feel like you are getting upset at how I am interpreting this. I am certainly looking for clarification because I'm looking for the goal, right? 157,000 people or 180,000. Are you looking at trying to touch 3% of that population, not with membership sales per se, but interaction through a community center? This is a third space. This is a highly coveted third space, and I think this brings a community together in such a unique opportunity in such a unique way that I would like you to say, well, our goal, for example, is we want to hit 10,000 people by year 3, That's what I'm looking for. And then I'm looking for the discussion of what does it look like if you partnership, because you're talking about operation expenses and hiring all these employees and bringing them in. And I'm saying, let's have the discussion of the two opportunities, if you did that versus if you didn't do that.
So
That's
Commissioner
it.
Wentworth, I can give you the numbers for program participation just right now off the top of my head. We did percentages. So we're at 61% capacity with our program participation right now at the CCC. We're estimating to go up to 75%. At 61%, we're serving about 29,000 participants. So adding that additional 14% or so, we would add an additional 7,000 participants. We can't say exactly if those would be unique participants, but it would give us an additional 7,000, just a rough estimate on number of people we could serve with programs alone.
Okay, I guess also then, if I was going to recommend you walking this forward to the council, I would say you really need to clarify these points. I think I'm asking very basic information, and I want it in a very simplified way. I appreciate all of the effort that goes into presenting these slides with a lot of detail. However, my goldfish brain is telling me you're throwing out percentages based on 65% of program. That means, this is kind of what we talked about, like when we talk, numbers need to mean something, right? And so I'm looking at the community and I'm saying, we came forward with this Parks Master Plan with this fantastic goal of subsidizing the most used and the most frequented and the highest good deserves the most subsidy. And I'm trying to tie that together with the fact that as a community, we truly would benefit in an outstanding way with a fully functioning community center. Put that in such simple terms with less on these slides so that we can truly see as a community, we have this many people, this is how many people we want to affect with the community center. We're talking multi-generational, we're talking, you know, as we discussed, like your activity slide is it's great, it just needs more detail. So I won't get into that here, but these are the kind of things that I'm trying to clarify this as we move forward to present to the community, because throwing out percentages like that, it doesn't mean anything to me. So if you say to me, I would like to see 25,000 people in Corona participate in some form, whether it's to a concert series, through the community center, something. Give me these aspirations of where you're trying to go and justify what you're dreaming of with this community center. That's where I'm coming from.
I was going to say, Commissioner Wentworth, that I think that's a good point to have more vision painted in the presentation. I think also sometimes at this point it's hard to do that because this is such a broad perspective. I'm a big fan of the membership pricing model. I think as a business owner that could work really well, and obviously this is an operational plan. I am a little bit concerned about, so we have the contract classes, I think it was like 17% right now is city staffed with the programming versus the contract instructors is 83. So would that be expected to change with the new facility?
It would not. So the classroom spaces would still continue to be operated primarily on the contract class model. We have the schedule breakdown on one of the slides there. I can't remember the exact slide number, but we show classroom spaces, the programming that would go there. The membership model would be reserved primarily for the wellness and fitness wing, where we would have the dance and fitness room, where we would do all of the fitness classes out of there. We would have the gymnasium, the aquatic center. That would be for the membership and drop-in pass use area only. And then the contract class space would be in the classroom wing. So you'll see as we start to go into the final design what those different areas look like, but that's how we would be able to control the use and the access to the membership space versus the classroom space.
Okay, and then I do have a recommendation, maybe if we could do something very inexpensive of just kind of a survey, a community survey, especially now that we have the models created of some kind of visual or video, and then put it out like, would you sign up for a membership, you know, whether it involves pricing or a description, just so we can see like who would be on a wait list or how many city residents would click yes. It could be like a simple poll or something like, yes, I would sign up for that. No, I wouldn't sign up for that. Or just so that we can validate this idea maybe of the emphasis on the membership fees and the 1,000, because it sounds like that's a little bit of a concern if we can hit those numbers. Any thoughts?
So these are recommendations we can forward to the council if the majority of the commission agrees. We just need to get consensus from majority of the commissioners on what recommendations you want us to forward to city council.
I don't think it's a bad idea to just validate some of the assumptions that are made in the presentation. If it's something that we can keep the cost down on and make it very simple.
I would support something like that. I do have another question.
Go.
So one thing that is missing for me that I'm trying to look at, so I'm looking at the revenue estimates and the budget projections, but I don't see anything in here on debt service and what that's going to look like for this. So it's, it's not a level playing field when you have, you're going to put out all this money, and I'm assuming there's going to be some, those kind of costs involved.
Sure. So the debt service on all of the downtown projects, which include City Park, the 6th Street transformation, the medians and trees, renovations on the Historic Civic Center, South Mall, North Mall, all of that I presented to council was about $200 million. The debt service on that is so we have reserves of about $75 million to cover the rest. It's more, it's $80 plus million to cover the rest. So the bonds would be up to $125 million is what the council authorized us to do. It's $7 million per year of debt service on all of the projects. And I'm happy to address that additionally if you want, but that's the total debt service for the general fund. So using Measure X, we set aside $35 million in reserves to cover the City Park project. So it doesn't actually pencil out half and half because we've already allocated $35 million to this project specifically.
I have another question. Are you going to put together a membership model for the pool?
The membership model includes the pool.
Includes the pool. Are you going to do a separate for the pool if people don't want to do a fitness, if they just want to do the pool?
Not a separate membership. We were looking at separate drop-in use for just the pool only at a lower cost. So I think right now we have an $8 drop-in use fee for the entire area. We were looking at around a $5 for just the pool if somebody wanted to just drop in and use the pool only for the day.
Okay. $5 for the pool. When you have open swim time, are you going to propose maybe a $2 open swim time? Is there going to be that kind of flexibility here that are we looking at? I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to get.
This is a very high level
Yeah, that's why
plan,
I'm
and any of those fees would have to go to council for approval. So
Okay.
we used a very basic set of assumptions to generate the revenue model. For example, as we proposed in these designs, we get significant efficiencies by having 1 or 2 staff members supervise the entire aquatics and recreation fitness wing. If we were to separate that, then we lose some of those efficiencies. If you just had a swim area and you just had a fitness area. So we have proposed something which could be refined over time, but this is a very high level. And once again, all of those fees would have to go to council for approval.
Okay. Do you guys want to move forward with the recommendation that as I was recommending that the staff, I don't know, is the city open to looking at partnerships? Because I actually didn't even ask that basic question. I just assumed that based on the park master plan, we were, but then based on this, with the aquatics being all interrun and this program for the community center is looking towards, hiring all in-house staff, are you even open to discussing the possibility of partnering with the Y? Is that even not really like on the table?
So we are open to looking at partnerships. We did propose partnership when in the last slide, additional revenue generation opportunities, looking at partnerships such as with healthcare providers, Silver Sneakers. For aquatics specifically, right now the proposal is for it to be a staff-run program. This is a significant investment for the city. We want to make sure we have control over how those programs are operated, and the Y running the aquatics is not one thing that we're recommending right now from city staff. But again, if this is a recommendation that the commission wants to forward to the city council, we're happy to forward that recommendation for the council to consider.
I recommend that it move forward with the partnership with the Y on aquatics. I also think it should move forward with discussing and exploring partnerships with the Y for after-school programming, what they could supplement within the community center itself, not just being contract classes and city staff, that there is a component there that needs to be discussed, that could be discussed as some form of an operations model here. Since we are in high-level discussion phases, I'm just spitballing and throwing out some ideas. If you guys want to recommend that, that's what I'm proposing we do.
I agree with you, Michelle.
So is the partnerships, is that something that could be just discussed or like explored later on, or is now the time to do it, or like what do we think as far as this shared expense?
We can look at partnerships at any point. So imagine that there's a scenario where we look at partnerships now and it doesn't make sense. And in the future, in 5 years, it makes sense. Or alternatively, it makes sense now and doesn't make sense in the future. Just some insight is that right now, our operations costs for Auburndale are very high, and YMCA does not absorb any of those costs in our partnership. So we essentially maintain the pool for their programs at our cost and improve that facility. And at the same time, their rate that they pay us does not go up. So that is an additional way that we subsidize types of programming that's not involved in our cost recovery model. And part of why we established the cost recovery model in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan was to get these fees set so we are not put in a position that's financially unsustainable. So there are always details that need to be worked out in any sort of partnership. The YMCA is one potential partner. We saw a very successful model with healthcare providers in Huntington Beach, where the hospital helped provide some of the staffing. So there are a variety of different ways that we can pursue partnerships. We've also been approached by other healthcare providers in the city to partner on some of our recreation programming, and we're pursuing those now. So at any moment, we can make those decisions. Once again, if that were to happen, we would bring that to council for consideration so that they could make those decisions on how to operate or on how to give direction to how we operate the programs.
I would like to see the discussion, at least, that I understand that we're not maintaining the pool for the YMCA. This is a city pool. We're maintaining the pool for the city. It's being utilized by the YMCA, providing a much-needed service to the community, and yes, we are subsidizing that. That cost is offset in many different ways, and that's where I'm looking at. What they're giving is just an operations, idea, spitball kind of idea thing here about what it would cost, and I was saying, for discussion's sake, are we open to looking at the pros and cons, the offsets to partnering with an organization like the YMCA to utilize this community center? Again, we're starting from ground zero. We're staffing, we're branding, we're marketing, we're getting it out there. YMCA already has staffing, branding, marketing. So there's offsets to some of those costs. So I guess that's kind of what I was hoping that we would explore. That was my recommendation moving forward. If the city staff and the city council do not want to look in that direction, then that's one thing. But I'm just suggesting that that was what the recommendation be, because it's not all that the YMCA costs us a lot of money. It's offset. So, but the numbers aren't here, the ideas aren't here, the full programming, the whole concept isn't here. This is still just, to me, in the discussion phase.
I can appreciate what you're saying, and I do understand maybe an alternate recommendation would be to ask the YMCA, since we're talking about them, if they wanted to submit a proposal or a bid on what they think their costs would be. And that might be useful information. It might find that they're going to be higher or we don't know without asking, I guess.
We don't know. I guess my thing was, I just went into a community center in a few blocks from Korean Chinatown in Las Vegas and had a tour. And the city of Las Vegas runs that with the YMCA. They don't staff it solely with city staff, and had a full tour. And you can see the cost offset of the programming, like the going back and forth. And I'm just asking the staff, are we not exploring that as our park master plan recommended? If that's not on the table and the commission and the council doesn't want that, that's fine. But I would like to recommend that the commission suggest to the staff to move forward with that kind of comparison discussion and talking about if a proposal is even something that could be discussed, that they pursue it. I don't think it's even been pursued. We haven't had any discussions here showing us that kind of proposal or pursual. I'm just bringing it up.
I'm having a hard time wrapping my mind around the idea of discussing partnerships at this point, because it seems like there would be a lot of detail put into that or specifics. Are we concerned, or do you feel concerned about the subsidy amount?
I'm not concerned about the subsidy amount. What I'm concerned with is that we're not exploring all the potential options to give our community with our community center. The potential option is that we have great staff and great programming, and we can lift it up, and we can hopefully hit a target goal of, let's say, getting 15,000, unique uses in the city, right? Versus what would that be offset with a partnership with the YMCA? What would that look like? What would we want it to look like? This proposal doesn't even go there. I'm suggesting that you juxtapose the two things to get a fuller view of what this center could be.
I feel like that would be an interesting comparison, in particular with our, like how you brought in the CCC comparisons, to look at the Arbondale site.
The easy way to resolve this is to make a motion and then vote on whether or not that's the recommendation to the council.
I had a quick question. Do we have a target goal for the total subsidy for this plan?
So the target is what is presented on the budget slide. I believe it's 124,000 additional subsidy beyond what we're currently subsidizing for the CCC.
So the 29%?
Correct.
Do we want to make a motion?
I recommended that we move forward with a motion, to ask that partnerships be further explored and juxtaposed against what we were looking for in a community center, and that what those partnerships would look like before we say the operational costs seemed fitting. We gave many recommendations for feedback on how to improve the overall presentation to make it more clear, whereas I was trying to make the percentages and the numbers mean something and be more appetizing so that you can kind of get to it. And then I was recommending that what was missing in this component was the mandate from the Parks Master Plan for exploring every opportunity for partnerships in aquatics and on the community center side, on both. I was recommending that the commission recommend to the council that they explore that before they okay an operations budget.
I second that, mainly because I see the opportunities in that study. and the opportunities for the families that will benefit from them. So I second that.
And are we supposed to bring up Commissioner Olson?
Yes, Chair Olson has one comment and one question for agenda item number 4. His comment, I support retaining all activities at the CCC until a new facility at City Park is ready to replace it. At that time, I support relocating all functions of the CCC to the new purpose-built facilities at City Park. His question, the organized leagues that currently use City Park, will their needs be met elsewhere?
So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Cortez. He has more information about which leagues are operating at City Park right now.
I'm sorry, we need a point of order. There were 2 motions, you need a vote on that recommendation.
I move that we recommend this presentation include the perspectives of partnering with an entity like the YMCA for aquatics and for the community center to explore what that would look like on its impact on the operating budget, how the costs would be offset, how the programming would be enhanced, that if this this is where I'm trying to add to the presentation to say this is what I would like to see moving forward. So that's the motion I'm making, that this board recommend that the City Council explore that as well.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
That was me, yes.
Let us vote.
Vice Chair Bass?
No.
Commissioner Kinney?
Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Wentworth?
Yes.
The motion passes. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the City Park Revitalization Project, final design by Mr. Cortez.
Good evening, Commission. I apologize for getting here late, but I'm excited to introduce the Rios team here in a moment, and this is just to go over the revitalization project, the final design presentation. We've brought several renderings to you, and we keep further refining this. So the ask is that the Parks and Recreation Commission provide feedback on the City Park Revitalization Project on the final design concept. And again, this is part of the city's strategic plan, so it aligns with our vision, the purpose for having a purposely built community center that everyone can thrive at, including the park. And this also includes a full-service, purposeful built community center. Just at a glance, so process to date, we had a very busy February where we had brought some items to you guys at the Parks Commission. We also went and had a pop-up survey at City Park. In addition to taking this to study session, worked with Rios on doing some final development on the plan itself. And here we are this evening to present to you, again, those further refinements. We had really good responses. We had 498 responses in just 12 days. So kudos to getting all those surveys. Some of them were at the pop event. Some were at, we also had the displays out for the public to see at the Circle City Center. And we had quite a few online surveys. So really good feedback in just a short amount of time. Some of the things that we're seeing was that we saw people wanted walking paths, they wanted a community center, they wanted some community gardens, and just overall kind of a new overall design for the park, something that can provide lots of different options, such as a splash pad, aquatic center, an all-wheeled plaza. So just a lot of different things that we saw there, and we kind of took all those things and tallied them up. And next few slides kind of go over those items that you had seen. And I'm not going to go through all the different items on there, the likes and dislikes, but we did have the crown, we had the flowering fields, and we also had the Wonder Loop. And again, we took all those items, the likes, the dislikes, and we have worked with the Rios team to further refine this and kind of keep getting that narrowed down concept together. So upcoming activities, I apologize. We will be taking this to study session. We will have construction documents coming up here in spring, as well as taking this to planning commission. And then in fall, hopefully bidding the project, and then awarding a contract in the first part of the year. We are honored to have the Rios team here this evening, so thank you for coming out. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to the Rios team to dive into the presentation. So with that, I will turn it over to them, and we'll be available for questions afterwards.
Thank you, Moses. Good evening, commissioners. I'm Bob Hale. I'm a creative director and partner at Rios. I'm here with the leadership of our team working on this project. We have probably over a dozen people working on it, and have been very diligently trying to respond in our design to the commentary we've gotten from you all a couple months ago, I guess, at this point, following that city council, as well as many of the department heads and others within the city administration that we've heard from about the project and the park. So hopefully we've been able to listen to all this, and you'll see that listening result in design work that will satisfy your interests in moving this project forward and feel like it's going to be a success. Also to say that what you're going to see tonight is still really a concept. So there will be a lot of additional detailed design work ultimately created for the project and developed in the project. We've got essentially one concept for the park now that's taken all of the likes and dislikes and boiled it into one proposal. There are several different versions of the community center building. They're all based on essentially the same programming, the same planning, but they express themselves in slightly different ways. So the team will go through that with you, and hopefully you'll be able to say, we really like these elements. Last thing I just wanted to say before I turn it over to the team to get into more detail is we have estimated the project, and all of the estimates for all the things you're going to see come within your project budget that we've been given. Let me turn it over to Brett Miller, our senior landscape architect.
Might get a minute and let him turn the boards over.
Just gonna say, are we going down during this time or? Okay.
All right. Thank you all very much for having us tonight. I think, and thank you, Donna and Moses. I think y'all's presentations are going to make my portion here go a little bit quicker, as we wanted to go through a recap, some design updates, and then walk you step by step through all the awesome spaces we've got planned out for the park. As Moses had mentioned, we started with the crown, our flowering fields, our Wonder Loop. I think the other element that I wanted to add to this is kind of the basis of the idea for the crown, right, was really capturing the iconic Grant Boulevard. Our ideas from the flowering fields, we're leaning into the agricultural history of the city and the surrounding area. And then we have the Wonder Loop, which really spoke to the regional area and all the plant systems and natural systems that we've got in Corona and around Southern California. And again, to be collaborators with you guys, all of this information has been fantastic to listen to you all tonight, to talk about the programming and the vehicle that we are proposing for all of this hard work to kind of manifest itself, right? And so to touch back on the three concepts and kind of our blending into one final concept design here is we had the Corona Crown. We have very iconic, strong move in the middle of the park that everyone seemed to be the fan favorite, right? We had the flowering fields, while there were some concerns about the building and this open space courtyard, one thing we did hear that was really positive was this interface between what's going on in the community center and then the respective program just outside of the community center, and having those two spaces overlap and talk to each other. So it's not just a building in a park, but it's really like an experience of the park, and the community center is a part of that. And then consistently, number one, everybody wants a walking trail, right? We provide a space, a couple different distances. You've walked around the park this many times, you've gone this far, and kind of blending all of those elements together to give us this community heart, this new destination highlighting Corona's values, their unique sense of place and experiences. And so these are some images that have popped up, I think, over as we've continued to develop, right? We have our crown, we have our civic destination, and then the multi-generational, the multifaceted experience. We want this park to be for everybody in the city, right? Whether you're a senior, whether you're a parent, you're a teenager, we want all of those experiences to overlap and kind of be jewels around this crown that we're proposing in the middle of the park. So here's our new plan for the future civic heart of Corona, incorporating all of these different things. I'm not going to go through it. We're going to enlarge these areas, and Jason's going to walk you through them step by step, but just highlighting the major areas. We've got the aquatic center, the community center, our community canvas, what we're calling the community living room that kind of hugs the opposite side of the community center. We've got botanic gardens, strolling gardens, playgrounds, and then sports courts and fitness activities that kind of radiate having more of a lower activity interface with the community canvas and ramps up as you kind of move away from that central space. So go through some program diagrams here. To break it down a little bit, break the spaces up a little less illustrative here so you can kind of see where the play spaces fall, where the sports fields fall, community canvas, botanic gardens, all laid out in kind of a bubble diagram, and how they interact with each other, right? I think that was one of the concerns we heard was that where are we going to sit? What are we going to see? Are we making sure we're keeping enough active program spaces to where there's not too much passive or too much flexible spaces around the community canvas? And very, very delicately lay out these different spaces so that all of those different needs are met that we had talked about in previous presentations. We'll start with the loop diagram. We've got the central loop. The central loop around the community canvas turned out to be right at 1/4 mile. We've got this Wonder Infinity loop that's a 1/2 mile that kind of circles the community canvas and kind of reaches out through the sports area out to the west. And then we've got a full 1 mile fitness loop that goes around the park, that kind of trails around the backside as well. But all three of these loops all interface with the community center and give you new experiences through all the different areas of the park. Pedestrian circulation, showing this main corridor down 6th Street, access from the parking lot, the different parking lots, right? And then these other smaller tertiary systems that kind of meander and walk you through the park, all at different speeds, all different experiences. You have different program areas that you go through and lap around and walk around. Regardless of your intention of showing up to the park, we hope that there's some kind of surprise and some kind of new thing that you're able to find walking throughout the park. The other thing we wanted to touch on is vehicle access and parking, right? I think we're at 319 parking spaces currently, which is right around where we're at with Santana Park. This doesn't count, that we had talked about some situations where we have some remote lots and things like that. This is just the on-site parking that we've got spread out in different areas. And then the vehicular access also to provide the different amenities we talked about for food trucks, for event staging, for maintenance vehicles. All of that has all been thought out and incorporated in this diagram throughout the central space, and to also give high visibility from the parking lots and areas that vehicles will travel around the outside of the site. And the next, we've got some diagrams to kind of show you the scale of this place. It's big. It's a big park. And starting with, the all-city picnic is one we hear about frequently. And so this is, 28 vendor tents, 18 food trucks, and, over 1,000 people fitting into this central lawn space. We've got a movie night. It was so much fun hearing Jason talk about the different programs you have planned for the city and how all of those are being incorporated in these diagrams that we've showed and planned out for the interior, the community canvas here. 4,300 people standing for a concert, and that's just on the turf and grass area. With still, you can see the food trucks and vendor tents and things like that are on the outside of the community canvas. We've got what we're calling Market Row that runs from the ficus tree up through the heart of the park and kind of connects with that central loop, showing what like a medium-sized farmer market could look like with food trucks, and then again with larger space, really interacting with that central community canvas space. And then street fair as well. And then the other thing I wanted to note on is we have located both in this diagram and in our model that you see our 3 historic elements that we keep coming back to. We have our whistle engine and our water fountain. The water fountain from 1919, I think is the date on that one, is kind of our fun explored, found objects that we have through our botanic garden. And we placed the Founder's Rock, what we'll get into when we get into the building, at the kind of the entrance at the entrance of the community center off the parking lot.
Thank you, Brett. I will take you now through all of the amazing spaces inside the park, starting with the crown, the Civic Heart. In each of these, you'll see the specific area that we're going to be talking about highlighted. So obviously, the center of the park, the heart, is the activity place, the place where everybody's going to gather, where you're going to have concerts, markets, food trucks, picnics. We have our linear interactive water feature along one side, all the events that could happen on that flexible lawn in the center. And so all those great programs and events that we talked about earlier are going to really be energized here. And here's an eye-level view. So I'll talk you through some of the design thinking here. Really, this is an extensive promenade that links that entire center heart of the park. And so around that are some design features such as the linear water feature, which can be a interactive splash pad. That terraces down. We have some amphitheater seating terraced into the lawn that can be used for obviously for large spectating events, but also just for comfortable places to sit and seat. And some ideas about about marking in the actual path of the promenade, different markers for interpretive interpretation of the city's history, other kinds of overlays like that could happen inside the paving ideas. We're showing a double ring of palms around the promenade, and those are the idea there is that we're reusing the existing canary palms that we have to remove on the east side of the park, and those can all be kind of ringed around to frame the central crown space, and then supporting that also with some pedestrian scale lighting. You can see all that energy circling around the center of the park. From the aerial perspective, you can kind of see all those layers build up. You have the lawn terraces, the double ring of palms, the water feature, and that central promenade space. There's room enough for food trucks and everything on that promenade as well. As Brett mentioned, just beyond that shouldering, the outside of that zone is what we're calling the community living room. This is really a multifunctional space underneath the trees to really relax, with lots of ample types of seating, different types of places to sit and gather, long communal food tables, picnic tables, different types of play equipment, the idea of some universal type play for adults and children, such as seesaws in this zone, and all of that's facing the community heart. Another view from one of those seating areas looking into the central space. And an aerial view where you can see all those layers kind of building up. Moving along to the 6th Street edge. This is where we're envisioning more botanical garden areas, and so shouldering that whole street side of the park with beautiful planting that celebrates native California drought-tolerant planting, having these moments of discovery where we locate some of those historic elements where you can find those and kind of find some delightful moments in those garden spaces, and also plenty of seating places nestled within the gardens. What we've done also along 6th Street is to widen the pedestrian way there. So we have the existing sidewalk, but what we're proposing is to push back, a few, 10, 15 more feet with a kind of promenade, DG, and garden space, so that you can set that whole line up with different types of market events and food truck events and that kind of thing too. And again, and this ties into the rest of the park, but really celebrating California natives, celebrating the ecosystem services of pollinator habitats and all the different seasonality of our native planting here. Moving on to the playground spaces, kind of like an onion peel, you keep peeling back the layers, and you from the central crown space, and you discover all these different programmatic areas. And so on the inner side, we have the 5 to 12, or sorry, the 2 to 5 year old playground, and then on that outer layer, we have the 5 to 12, which is a much more expensive area. Again, lots of areas also for just grass and seating and picnicking, areas for the parents to sit and watch as well. Built-in benches around the planting. And here's some of those spaces, what those spaces are starting to look like in our imagination. Obviously, we have a lot of development to do with you all as we take this further, but we have been working extensively with our experiential design team on some really fun ideas that build on the agricultural history of the site, or of the city rather, and the celebration of the agriculture, the lemons and the pollinators that support the agricultural history of the city. And as you can see here also, as you look across the park, you start to see all those different zones that layer out from the crown outwards. Here's some of those initial studies that we've been looking at for some of those fun play elements that are taking their inspiration from the packing labels of the queen bee, with the lemons and the bees and the flowers. Moving over to the aquatic center on the east side, extensive play and recreation area, obviously for fitness, both for all ages. We have the splash and slide area on the west side of that space, divided by a shade structure in the middle, where with lounge chairs facing both directions, and then the lap pool over on the east side. We have about, I think right now there's 11 lanes in there. Viewing bleachers facing that on the far east side, and another shade structure up to the north. And then our outermost layer, our noisiest most layer, out on the Quarry and Grand Boulevard side, is the fitness and sports zone. Again, we have our fitness loop that accommodates 1 mile around the entire park, but also links together all those fitness equipment areas and sports courts. And so just off the fitness loop, we have fitness equipment areas, volleyball court, ping pong tables, bocce court, and then in the Panhandle area over on facing Grand Boulevard, 3 basketball courts and a pump track. And here's an image. I think you were asking earlier about what that might look like. So it's an open pump track that you can skate on, but you can also take scooters on, and it's a little bit more of a flexible use than your traditional skate park. So that can wrap around the 3 sports courts and tie the whole that whole Panhandle area around together. You can see here from the aerial that's looking south with the sports courts in the middle with fun graphics and the pump track that's wrapping around the sides. And again, the pump track and sports courts. All right. Sorry.
Good evening. Great to see you again. I'm Chris Skeens, and I'm here to talk a little bit about the community building that we're proposing for you. So tonight we're going to talk about what we heard first. We're going to talk about some of the guiding principles that guided us in our design. And then we're going to go over the organization of the building and the plan, and we're going to present the way that we have thought about this building as we have developed it moving forward. And we're going to arrive at maybe a recommendation, but what we're really interested in hearing from you is what we can take from the different thoughts that we've had along the way to combine into the final facility. So to begin with, we heard from you and from the council that the Corona Crown scheme was the preferred element, was the preferred scheme. And so, you know, using that sort of central circular or circular lawn as our starting point, we're going to wrap the building around that and create a very linear, logical building ringing the park that has great interaction and both visual and physical interaction between the park and the building, and we want to sort of extend that logic and geometry around the circle. We also heard that there were some elements about the flower scheme that people liked. There was a really keen interest in this sort of interaction at the center of that core and creating a sort of cross-pollinating space where people from doing different activities from different walks of life can see each other and interact, but also in the way that that flower scheme brought those landscape elements into the building and sort of nestled them inside, creating even more sort of increnellation that allowed different relationships between the inside and the outside. So moving into the principles that we're using to develop the building, I think we're really interested in the history of Corona and some of the historical elements that exist in Corona. And so we're looking specifically at the packing house and warehouse district logic, but also at some of the Spanish Revival architecture that's all around the area. We're also looking at local materials, specifically terracotta. We noticed that there is actually a terracotta manufacturer in Corona who we have some samples for. But you know, using that sort of Spanish-style terracotta roof is something that inspires us, but also something that we want to reinterpret in a contemporary way. And then, of course, integration with nature. That is the sort of key principle of all Rios projects. So how can the building merge with and be at one with nature? And so as a reminder, you know, the logic of the building is we're taking that central lawn space, that community canvas, ringing the program around the perimeter and covering it essentially with one of those packing house sheds. Key to this organization is a single and secured point of entry, and this is something that's going to happen both from the parking area and from the central lawn. A single, really logical circulation point, and then controlled exits into secured spaces along the back where we start to interact with natural elements, and a visual connection to that central lawn. And so what we've started to do is sort of bring, you know, those green areas and sort of start to infuse them inside of that building, sort of breaking up that sort of singular linear logic and creating a really clear circulation zone both physically and visually between the central lawn and the parking space so that the building doesn't act as a wall between the two. And then finally, we wanted to create community gathering spaces or circulation spaces where everyone in the community is going to mix and interact and see each other and feel one and feel part of the community as they're part in the building. And so this is the plan that we've arrived at, which seems to have a little malfunction here, but you can see up and to the right corner, that's our sort of parking and drop-off entry. So you arrive at the building at a generous drop-off plaza where you're going to see that historical marker as you come into the building. You're going to enter through that main zone, and that is going to be our primary entry, both from the parking and then, as you can see below, from the Central Park. That's going to be the secure zone, and you're going to pass by a reception desk, which is obscured here in the center. From there, you can go to to the left or the right, depending on what you're doing. We have the banquet hall program and the admin to the right, and you can see as you enter the building, you're going to pass right by that admin, so you can check in, have different, be directed in various ways, and you have great visibility to the entrance. Moving to the left, you can go to the fitness center. You can go to the gym, game room, where you have a really active zone right in that central hallway. You can go over to the fitness area where you can either enter the locker rooms, and you can pass through those locker rooms as you move your way into the aquatic center, or as you get changed and move into the fitness zone, which you can see to the left there. And then in addition to the fitness zone, there is a dance studio, which you can see could be divided into two separate rooms. And then just directly to the outside of that fitness area, there's another fitness zone where you can do outdoor exercise activities, like on turf. You can push a sled or do have various outside exercise classes. To the south and to the left there is additional fitness areas. We have a spin classroom, but we also have conference rooms. We have classrooms that can accommodate different sizes and types of activities. So we have two large clean classrooms or conference room, which we're calling them, which can also be divided. And so that's carpet, conferencing facilities, those types of things. But we also have more dirty classrooms where we can have things like art classes and crafting. And then south of that, we have some mechanical spaces, but we also have some bathrooms that face to the outside of the building, which allow park patrons to use the facilities. So you can see here is a detail of the banquet hall. This banquet hall seats 400, and it has a catering kitchen, which is not a full production kitchen, but a place where caterers can land and heat up what they're doing and serve to everyone. There's a loading zone here. There's also a small outdoor event space to serve the events. And then you can see that sort of entry from through past the admin and through the reception there. Here we have the fitness program, gymnasium, storage, game room, and I think we've reviewed the majority of this. And here we have classroom, where again we have an outside area where that can be used by different classes. And I'll note that all of the areas to the rear of the building here, including the aquatic center, are fenced in. And so this is within a security perimeter, so that we can ensure that we have only one secure entry right at that central axis. And you can see these exterior restrooms to the south there. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Simone.
Thank you, Chris. So last few weeks, since last time we see each other, we put a lot of thought into one single question and understanding, how can we make this building better? The question was, how do we make the building be one with the park? And how can we make almost like something that can be seen as an iconic gesture, because that's what kind of like what we heard from you guys. How can we make a very strong vision for Corona, but at the same time make a building that can be really part of the park and something that can be used by the people? And so what we've been working on is how can we try to do more with this building. Because a linear building that looks like this, it's very logical, and it makes the most sense. But at the same time, we felt that we could do something more with it. And so what Chris walked you through is almost like an intersection of all the different comments that we heard from you. So we try to distill all the things that you like from the three options and fuse them together into one. And so the idea is that I'm going to walk you through 4 potential iterations of what the building could look like, but basically they all share the same soul. And they all share the same plan. The building functions always the same way, and it tries always to do one single thing. That's the big idea. The big idea is to create a building that is seamlessly integrated organically with a park. Because we don't want to give you just a park, we don't want to give you just a building, we want to give you an holistic concept that is going to make you and the community of Corona be excited and active part of this park. So the first idea was to really, just very simply extrude the plan and make it into a very simple, linear, longitudinal building that was, on one side was open to the big courtyard, and on the other one was fragmented to almost embrace these different activities that we can have on the other side of the building. So in one way, I keep looking at this building as almost like a double hug. There's a hug for the city where we're trying to, embrace the entire community. And the other one is almost like smaller hugs. We're kind of like, trying to create a sense of community that is more taken apart. It's almost like broken down into smaller, clusters. What we love about this building is how it organically integrates with the park. The roof is a gable roof, and it's using earthy tones of terracotta. The walls are coming from the ground, and they're in, a white or, like a shade of gray of stucco. There's a lot of glass that is letting the light and shadows, animate the facades. And the building really tries to, grow from the ground. And just a couple of days ago, Mark Rios, gave us this idea, why don't we just, continue these rows of palms all around? Because that's really like the idea, like how can we sustain this idea of the crown and reinforce it with landscape even more? And so we paired together with the globe lights over there, the palms, and we felt that there was a very strong gesture where, that thing becomes visible from the highway, and it becomes something that is really iconic, but at the same time very legible. The building once was only, like a diagram on the ground. It started to become part of the park, and it wasn't scary, and it wasn't really, imposing itself. It was almost trying to create this dialogue, and we started to imagine how you can walk around the park and walk underneath the roof, and spend time, a day over there, and see, the time passing by through the shadows that you're gonna be seeing, under that kind of roof. We started imagining how people can walk and can play over here and really feel that this building is there for them. And that's kind of like what we wanted to try to push forward in the way that the building was going to be operated as an architecture. The gesture of inviting people in is really explained, I think, very well at the entrance, where it's almost like opening itself up to let people in with this grand gesture of like a full-height facade of glass that is really creating this level of transparency. But at the same time, the same gesture is coupled on the other side, where you can see there's a very strong visible connection to the other side of the park. So the building almost gets completely fractured to let the light and the way that people can traverse the building very seamless. The second idea that is pushing the boundaries a little bit more from a geometric standpoint is, if we want to try to get the building to become one with the park, it would be great if it can try to accommodate a gesture that takes into consideration the ground. And so what will happen if we can imagine a ramp or a pedestrian walkway that can go all around the building and can be seamlessly integrated with the community canvas. So we imagine this walkway that can lead you on top of the roof, giving you an open outdoor area that can be servicing the building itself, but at the same time give you a vantage point to overlook the park and really have a vantage point to understand how the park is seamlessly integrated with the architecture. So in this second option, the building basically looks like the same in plan, but the roof is extended further away to try to reach the ground. In essence, in a gesture that really wants to try to blend in what is coming from the ground and what is the attitude of the landscape itself. So these concentric lines of the way that the landscape is designed continue within the building itself. The waviness of the roof activates the facade. That is not just a starch, glaze wall, and it starts to wave in and create this dynamic notion of the building itself that relates to the mountains and it relates to the way that you're going to be walking over, the park itself. And then we started to, question again the concept, saying, does it really need to be all one, or can we push even more and try to, break the facade and break the building into single pieces to really try to give that idea of the flowering fields kind of like something even more visible. And so rather than trying to understand only one roof covering everything up, we kept the ramp as almost like an element that is attached to the building, and we broke the building apart, continuing the way that it's going to be, lived and, keeping the same circulation seamless inside, but really separating the building from one another in terms of their main functions. This operation lends itself to, a more broken down facade that has maybe a more human scale, and it still retains that bigger gesture, that iconic gesture of, cohesive sense of togetherness of the park and the building without the roof being a continuous element. The materials are still the same, and probably, the circulation and ramp facade could be a combination of glass and metal or wood, something that can still be very earthy and very organic. And then the last one, where I think we found what we are, trying to suggest you to do, which is a combination of the two. So by pushing the ramps inside the envelope of the building, we achieved a very compact form that still allows for a continuous roof over the same functions, but allows also for this pedestrian walkway, this skywalk, to be integrated within the building itself. And so in this form, the building still looks like the same. So it's a continuous crown, it's a continuous gable roof, but it presents incisions on both sides to respond to the community spaces that we have on the public side, but also on the more private side. And the walkway, it becomes almost like an open area that overlooks inside the building, and it gives you this beautiful space from which you can imagine, have activities and almost like another playground that can be envisioned on top of the building. We envision that the ramp can be something that can be, simply secure with a gate at the beginning, and we studied the geometry of the building to be inaccessible from a security standpoint. And we envision the ramp to be completely open to the sky and have these large facades of glazing to create peekaboo moments where you can see the activities that are going on into the fitness area and the main lobby and the subsidiary spaces on the separate wings that we have on the northern and southern side. So all in all, I think what we really tried to push was the single idea of creating a single gesture that can be a nod to the past, but a vision for the future. In this idea of instigating a sense of togetherness, as the Latin said, pluribus unum, that means, trying to create a space where everybody can feel at home. Thank you so much.
And so please feel free to come down and look at the model, and we have a number of items here on the boards. Do we get microphones?
So I don't know, is this on? I had a couple questions, and the first one is in regards to this splash pad, which says that it was a non-fee use area on that one operations plan, but now you've got it integrated in the area that's fenced and have to go through the locker room. So I'm a little confused on how that would work.
Can I?
Okay.
Correct. So we've got two. So that's more of like the aquatic center. It's a bit more than a splash pad, right?
River in there,
Right.
as well as slides and other.
So the cool one you have to pay for, otherwise if you don't, you come out here and.
Well, this one's also.
Where is it? I don't even see it.
It's the blue,
Oh.
the blue arc around.
Okay.
And that would have fountains and.
This is a depression on the ground that can be filled with water, and there are fountains
Correct.
over there that can be turned on and off, right?
This would be more like a pool. You're looking at 1 or 2 feet of water. You're looking at 1 or 2 feet of water, and you'd have to have lifeguards stationed around. So it's not exactly a splash pad. It's an activity shallow pool.
I understand the
right? Yeah.
difference.
Right.
I just think that I think it's a little misleading when you have pictures of this and then, it's, you know,
You were imagining a more traditional type of splash pad out here.
well, I saw the splash pad over here. I mean, this is like this is like
That's a pool.
raging waters.
That's a pool.
Yeah, I get that. Okay.
Yeah, if you look at the image there, you can see the intent for that.
Right. Okay. So that's different. Okay, that's different. And then so I know that there's been push to get a pump track in Corona, and I just finally got one opened in Riverside County that I worked on for 15 years. You have to take a look at it. I think this is to appease people by calling it a pump track. I don't know if everybody's familiar what a pump track, where they get their name from, but it's a way of moving your bike through an area without pedaling because you're pumping your arms in different, like you pump on a swing, how you make yourself be able to swing. And so I don't know if this is the pump track that the city of Corona gets. I think there's a lot of people who are going to say we don't have a pump track, which is fine. I don't mind the feature. I just don't want it called a pump track if it's going to check off the pump track box on our wish list. I guess that's.
Is that to say it's not long enough, or not big enough, or not flat enough?
It's just not enough. I mean, I would say that for this is going to be something that I mean.
Does it
Yeah,
look?
it's a token.
It looks like it's more for skateboard, scooting, and rollerblading than bicycles. Is what I'm seeing in you versus a true pump track for a bike. Is that what we're trying to distinguish?
I think it's I think they try to check too many boxes, and I know there's been a contingency of people or contingent of people saying, I want a pump track, where's our pump track? And then they said, okay, here, we'll have a pump track at City Park too. I mean, everything we want is going to be at City Park. And I don't mind the feature, but I don't want anybody to be under the impression that satisfies the pump track request, because I don't think it will. I mean, we just, like I said, the pump track that's over at the DeLeo Bike Park that just was open, I mean, you've got adults over there. That's half the users are adults on this pump track. This is not going to be that. And so I wish it was called something different. So when we say, what are we missing? We can say we're missing a pump track, because this is not a pump track. And maybe it doesn't belong at this park, but it could go to another park. But if we say, we already built a pump track, what's wrong with this pump track? Well, that's not a pump track.
What would you call it? Yeah.
I think go back to your skate plaza, or your skate, or your wheel.
It looks like it's for scooters, rollerblades, and skateboards, like what's in Lake Elsinore. Yeah.
And I think that's true. I think that's the intent of it. It's not. I don't think it's for dirt bikes in that sense, but our. Well, dirt bikes, no. So we're working with a skate park consultant, right? And there are two kinds of ways that he had it. You have your traditional skate park, right? And then you've got the pump track route, or the this more linear version of it. And so what the design goal is, I mean, we could argue with him if it's a pump track or not, but the goal of this is to have a pump track element to it and a lighter touch of the skate park to address some of the security concerns we had, right? So the idea is you have something more linear, but if you want that traditional skate park area, you have that off to one side.
I'm okay with the feature, like I said. I just want the city to know that this is not going to satisfy the request for a pump track. That's, I mean, so.
Understood. Understood.
Right.
Okay. Understood.
I'm loving the building, the fact that it still captures the crown and that it becomes enamored with the space, the community canvas. I love the fact that we have a chance to be a bird and look back at the community canvas, watch people, and then the fact that it could be a backdrop again for a stage for concerts in the park, dances in the park, whatever in the park type stuff. And I like the water elements too. I know it's still growing and evolving over time. I like the fact that we have ample parking on both ends of actually 3 ends of the park. This is more, I guess, more service. Yeah.
Admin.
I like the
Admin.
playgrounds being where they're at in the middle, associated with the canvas. So when the parents are here and kids can go there and feel safe, they're not near a street, they're embraced by the heart and soul of the park site itself. I like the fact that, one, I'm leaning towards Amy's point of view too with the pump track. It's mixed uses of skateboard, basketball, and pump track-ish activities. They only blend together. Two different people at those events. You might have 3 people playing basketball, 5 people versus, and it's one age group versus the pump track people, more skateboard, according to your photograph there. I don't think they're going to mix too well. What you'll find, I think, is the skateboarders going on the basketball court. That could happen. I thoroughly like still the way the building swirls around into the open walkway spaces and such. That gives us a lot of energy and vibrancy there. I like that. I do like the water element at the back side of that. That could be also musical too, and the fountains come alive and during the concert or at the beginning of the concert to kind of begin the concert, so to speak, and dancing water. And then what you could do too, then is you could have like Disney has the same thing where the water splashes in and you can film off of it too to get that film action going on. And you can actually watch the concert here being filmed here. You can see the same instruments being, musicians playing on the spray of the water. Could happen that way. A lot of things could kind of be creatively input into the park site.
Yeah, so we went away from the lighting in the center, right? The ones that we had, the bulbs? Oh. Yeah. Oh, okay. Gotcha, okay. And stage? Okay. Gotcha. Okay.
We could build in a concrete pad there if we needed to.
If that's what you want. The last we heard.
So to augment flexibility, it was thought over here that can be built over there, but you might not feel that 365 but it's thought in such a way that can work very well if it's placed in that location.
And we could build something that's more permanent, like a concrete sort of
Concrete
pad.
to make it easier to set up.
I love the entrance too. It feels very grand.
Well, I still think the parking is a challenge. I'm not sure that we've fully explored what that looks like. In the back of my head, that's what I was thinking when you were talking about, we talk about our concert attendance, and you were talking about 1,000 people here, 315 parking spots. I think that's still something that probably needs to be discussed. I am disappointed. In the one thing that I really think the community and the kids would really, really love is a couple of tube slides on the big pool. It also advertises to the community, you've got a pool here. You drive by 6th Street and you see the tube slides. And I think I don't think there's no reason that can't be included. My concern with the, like the courts in that corner with the bocce ball and a couple of small courts, I'm not really, volleyball, okay.
Ping pong and volleyball.
Yeah. I see what you're doing, but my brain was thinking more in terms of what would I like to do if you and I were at the park together, right? And we came in through here, right? And then maybe we, as a couple of older folks with their knees that maybe don't go so well, don't want to walk all the way to the corner to the bocce ball. So some of these smaller elements I felt like should be tied in better to the community center. I thought that, yeah, I think within a closer walking distance, I think that's just too abandoned out there. I know, but
You want to play bocce?
I don't, right. I mean, it can be whatever you, at one point I had, there was a contingent of residents that came to me wanting bocce put into the parks. It's not something that's unheard of. So, just, right. But I guess what I was trying to get at was a little bit more of an activity flow that's not quite as broken up by the spacing, where I saw that coming more forward. For you and I, we're not going to walk down to the basketball and shoot some hoops. If we can do that, we can get all the way down there, right? So, did you see where I was going with that?
Yes, I did. It's fine, thanks.
Okay.
We'll do this. The idea here, though, was to layer this by age groups with appropriate kinds of activities for those age groups. Now, that's not to say, and to be able to contain them in a way that parents can actually supervise. But that's not to say, at the far end, we've got some kinds of activities that could be used by all ages. And we could take some of that in other places in the park.
I would like also to ask, how useful is the volleyball in this situation? We have volleyball courts peppered throughout our park system, and they're not well used. Indoor volleyball, well used, easily programmed. Outdoor volleyball, not so much. So my thought was that that's not necessarily an element that we need in this position since we have it in the gym. To me, like having the bocce ball where you have the little bocce ball or horseshoes or whatever kind of games, it coincides with the activities and the concerts and things that are going on so that people are migrating through these activities. I personally, I don't know, I think you could almost expand a little bit of parking in there. That there's other opportunities to add some more spaces if you condense some of that. But I was thinking that the volleyball wasn't needed, period. So that's, honestly, I would like to, I think as far as playground equipment goes, I think I'm probably with Commissioner Kinney with, I think this getting into the water with this feature is very creative and it's very interesting, but it's not exactly that much fun. So from a fun standpoint, I'm looking at the water slides. The fun play equipment with the water incorporated would probably be a nice addition. I'm just thinking in those terms because it's aesthetically pleasing, but it's not to slide on. It's just to kind of jump in. So, I could lose those courts back there for the idea that the kids can run and play and jump and do more of a play aquatics combined in here somehow. What's that far court, that little tiny
3 ping pong tables.
ping pong? Again, why? It's in the gym. I just like that's the kind of thing where I'm not gelling with what you put there. And I know that you could probably put something else there, but inside, why wouldn't you have a snack area with the ping pong table for our 12-year-olds to play at? Right? Why would I want my 12-year-old to go all the way down there to play ping pong? The logic isn't meeting with the usage.
I think the intent
Okay.
Have it spread out in the park in different places.
And then you can use the park in those ways as well.
I get that. I get that. But again, we should. The for free, right.
Pay to play inside, but if you don't want to pay to play inside, you can play for free outside.
Can the teens go to the Circle City Center right now and go to the gym and shoot hoops and play ping pong in their little game area without paying? Jason will
Yes,
know.
they can. They
Yeah.
can. And that's what we're proposing for the game room at the city park as well. That's not going to be a paid use facility. That's going to be a free drop-in leisurely
Right.
space.
And so that's why I was looking at like ping pong. I just see something that's going to get ruined and destroyed with usage. And it's just that kind of, again, I just, the logic there when you could pull these things tighter up here if you're going to do it. But I don't see the need for ping pong or the volleyball back there. And I could see the bocce ball moving forward. And the basketball courts hidden in that back little area back there, I guess is okay, but I'm not loving the all-wheel track surrounding that. I don't know, again, I just go back to, I'm trying to channel the community feedback that we're getting. It's not so much that I'm trying to put my personal preference on it. So that's like Commissioner Kinney was saying, people really want a pump track. Let's not falsely advertise that that's a pump track if it's really for scooters and skateboards and rollerblades. It's more effective for that than what truly bikers consider a pump track. So I kind of fall back on that. I'm still on the fence with that as far as meeting the community needs for wanting for skating and for scooters. So that's my feedback. I'm not sure I love that. I think that they really will. You'll have to fence all that in. That's as far as, for them to use it. It's not shown there, but I can't think logically any other way for their track piece to work if it wasn't securely fenced, just because of speed and distance.
It'll be fenced.
It'll be fenced.
You want to point at that
Okay.
bottom rendering down there? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think to the point about the visibility, I think that we're trying to show on this view, especially that in the redevelopment of that panhandle, it's going to be very, very visible from Grand Boulevard. I mean, that's the view, right? So, kind of
Okay.
putting aside what you know of the site now, try to imagine that that's
Well, it
gonna be
just looks
completely
blocked in by
open.
the buildings on both sides on that model. So I guess that's where, does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't actually see it from
Sure.
6th Street.
It's open from Grand
And there's
Boulevard.
we've
and
also got Crest
Court.
Crest
yeah.
Court that runs along there. So here was
And there's a whole line of, so there's a whole line of parking here. There's an open path system along the entire perimeter of here that ties into that parking lot, or street and sidewalk as well,
There's going to be buildings torn down that are there now, so.
Correct.
eventually.
Okay.
And let me and can I walk through? I think one of the challenges, right, is the skate park pump track. I think something that was very positively responded to from the last go around was having it close to the building. It's just there's like people like the visibility of it, but it kind of creates an inhibitor to the community center, right?
Right.
So our thought with pushing some of this higher program activity, yes, it'll 100% be fenced in between those two. The skate park consultant was even like, you need to do that. We don't have an issue with that. I think that can be expanded, but I think the trade-off that we had here are these ideas of visibility, right? It's this, if you're worried about things going on at night, you have car traffic, you have a patrol that can go by there, you have parking spots. We tried to increase the visibility of it and the ability to see it from a vehicle without having to get out and walk around, and remove hiding spots and bowls and deep things like that is kind of like the compromise that, yes, this is still an amenity. We don't want to remove the skate ability from the site completely, right, with this new intervention, but then also how can we do that and still take all these safety concerns into consideration on this western edge of the park?
Okay.
What I'm seeing though right now from listening to you and Amy is that you broke the park into thirds. This 2/3 is successful, and the last third needs to be reworked on, refined more.
Yeah, and I think, I know you guys just have the examples of some play equipment, but you know, when we're looking at the play equipment, I mean, it's a fun factor. And without the slides and without the fun factor, this is not, those courts in the back, to me, I think for community usage, I think because we are such a young city, I think a fun factor, fantastic playground is more of a selling point than any of those. I think bocce's inexpensive. You could throw that up here easily, you know, but I just think the fun factor back there is an element that it's just not hitting me. This is great. This is very passive. I know that you'll change out the play equipment. These are just ideas, but I really think that the community would, if you're playing on a playground that your toddlers can use and your 11-year-old can use, and a splash pad that's not that far away, and that, you know, and this is a seasonal thing, and it's just all coming together, and then you have the activities. So I think, I know that's more money, I guess, but, you know, that's kind of what I think is missing.
So I think what you're saying is we could remove these kind of islands of program that could be elsewhere, and then we could expand the playground to really cover this entire corner. Is that valid, or?
I'm not saying place it any particular place. I'm saying
You said it could be
add the fun
bigger.
factor. Add the fun factor.
It'll be fun.
Look, you were
It'll
like,
be fun, don't worry.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're like, we're hugs. We've got little hugs, big hugs, and I'm like, wow, you know. So, and you know, the first buildings that you showed us, I mean, I'm sitting there watching, going, the roof is too much. The roof is too much. And then as you pull it back and you pull it back, yes, it's like the building was so dark, it became light. And I think that the walking, being able to walk through the way the final iteration shows with the buildings is beautiful and allows the natural light to come in and kind of breaks that roof line, which to me was too much for a design factor.
Just to say that this is concept design, right? And I think that we demonstrated the ability to listen. We negotiated a lot of the things, you know, through this process with you guys and with the city staff. So we really welcome this feedback, and we're going to incorporate them and understand how to play it through. There will be more development, and this is great just to have the opportunity to listen to you guys.
One thing that I don't see, and it doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to be there, but that I would like to see, because it was very high on the community survey response, is pavilion space or covered area space. And I don't see that, and I don't know if that could be something that down by the courts.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's something I think we want to develop as well, some ideas. I mean, especially we were thinking maybe in here. We did have a long conversation with the police department as well about safety and shelter. And so we're taking a lot of that feedback into consideration as we go, but.
Be very careful about making shelter spaces that can be turned into camping zones. So what we've tried to do is make picnic areas and areas for the community to hang out, utilizing the great tree canopy that we've already got here, and using that for the shade to protect people and to be able to hang out without it being a permanent structure. Now, I mean, we can clearly add some if we really want to, but we were asked basically not to.
Well, my thinking is that if the structures are the cause of the problems, then just removing them would fix the park, and it's not the case. So I think that, I mean, it's not that simple. I know that the parks that have pavilions that are rentable for birthday parties on the weekends, you go, they're busy, they're really busy. And this neighborhood here, you know, these are older homes, smaller homes. You've got a lot of intergenerational housing, and they're looking for space like that. That's what they came back with. If you zoom in on this neighborhood, they wanted that kind of space. And to not give that to the people who are immediately adjacent to it, I think you're going to have to come up with solutions to, you know, to potential problems. And like I said, if the problem is just camping space, then you know what, this is just an exercise just for the fun of it, because we just go remove the shelters and then there's not a problem anymore. And we all know that's not the case, so.
Okay, we will struggle with this issue much more.
I do like your upgraded trees from last time. Somebody worked.
And these are the surveyed located trees in approximate their actual size.
That's great.
I think as far as families getting together, picnicking, I mean, if there's enough, I don't know, we've removed the shade, but you know, these areas here serve for picnicking, as do that. If there's picnic tables throughout, the downtown Palm Springs park that they did is comfortable, but not too comfortable. I didn't enjoy sitting in it for very long. And it's not because there wasn't enough shade, it was just too many hard surfaces. And it just, after a while, I was like, I got to get up and go walk around and buy something. I got to get out of here. So I see you've replicated some of that. Yeah, well, yeah, my husband says, no, thank you. Is there anything else?
So in this rendition, we're going to be developing a central median along 6th Street, is that correct?
Yes.
And there's no parking in front anymore? We've gotten rid of the parking that was up there, okay.
And can we talk about the parking for a second too?
Yeah, go ahead.
I think for a multi-thousand person concert that we have here, we could park the whole site and it wouldn't be enough parking is kind of the conclusion that we came to, right? So I think we wanted the large lot to service mostly what's going on with the community center on a day-to-day basis, right? The other lots kind of remained as is and serve as supplemental lots for this backside that maybe you're not coming to the park to go to the community center. Maybe you just want to play ping pong outside or, you know, go for a walk, right? And so that's why they're a little more smaller and broken down on the exterior spaces, and again, to allow vehicular circulation, and again, along this backside too. What we did do is look at the greater downtown as a whole and identified a bunch of places that we could park people and shuttle them in for these infrequent larger events that are going on, right? So I don't want it to seem like if we don't park 1,000 cars on the site, this will, you know, not be able to service that large of a crowd. Because I feel like we've kind of generated a solution for that outside of just covering it in asphalt.
Do you know how many cars park on this potential on this? 50. The MetroLink, you know, park and ride, you know, they're fairly close by, so if you wanted to do some type of a quick shuttling and.
In City Hall.
Well, they're even walking distance.
City Hall, yeah.
Right. That happens in Laguna Niguel when they have concerts in the park. They park at the City Hall, and they take shuttles and buses from that, it's only a mile away, to the actual park itself. So it's doable.
Where are the restrooms at?
There's a restroom there, and there's one here. There's another building here we forgot to mention.
And is there going to be sports programming on the canvas, or is it only on that outdoor area?
Sport, what kind of sport?
It can be any of those.
How many classrooms would be installed in this?
There are 4 classrooms, 2 clean and 2 dirty.
Okay, is that enough?
It's what is in the operations plan.
I believe we planned for 5. I think it was 3 clean, 2 dirty, if I remember correctly. And then they were just divisible. I thought that's what I saw in the design as well.
That was an option, but I was told that we want a spin class.
That was the
classroom,
sixth,
so we're
the sixth
converting.
classroom.
So we're adding another one. Okay, so 3 clean, 2 dirty, and then a spin class.
Because spin might not always be a thing.
Yeah.
Right. And the banquet area could be divided up into smaller rooms?
Yes, into 2.
Okay. 2? Okay.
Just as a point of reference, it's about the same size as what Eagle Glen hosts, about 400 seats.
I don't belong.
I'm sure that you've been to at least a couple of events there.
I wanted to echo Commissioner Wentworth's ideas over in this corner. Was it, I don't remember the survey off the top of my head, if that was like a big, for our community? The ping pong.
I don't think ping pong was, but volleyball was part of the original program.
Part of going to the park with your children to kind of play games and stuff.
I think a just rock and playground back there would be more appreciated.
Cut anybody off.
Are these cabanas?
Yes.
Oh, my. You know,
They need shade. It's for shade. It needs to have shade.
These will be for rent, then I'm guessing. You'll reserve a cabana, like a nice.
It's a long linear shade structure.
Okay.
It's-
That is immediately adjacent to the aquatic center play area, and then we've kind of got a central one in the middle so you can see the lazy river, and you have the free play on the other.
I mean,
Yeah.
I get it, I get it.
It's to watch your kids. It's not fancy.
Are the classrooms, I guess I could, so what I can see utilizing is renting a room and wanting to have a birthday party at it and have them use the pool area. And that flow and function to me seems valuable. Is that doable here the way you have it designed?
Yeah, we can, here the classrooms are located in this zone here, and so you can.
Oh, it comes off.
Wander. So you can see our classrooms here, and then you can wander over to the pool over here to have that function. But more likely, you're gonna have a classroom, a birthday party in here, and then go through the locker rooms, change, and go to the pool.
Right, okay.
Yeah, and so we've striped the basketball court so that you can have a full-size court like this, or two pickup courts going the opposite direction.
That's smart, yeah. You get the most utilization out of the,
And we'll have
Gyms.
bleachers to have, spectator events.
Bleachers that can fold out.
Yeah,
okay. Like the old high school ones.
or nicer.
They make nice ones.
We used to climb those. Do you have any more questions?
I don't have any more questions, but I love that we kept the crown design.
Okay, are we done? I'm done.
Thank you very much.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's next?
Ms. Vargas, do we have comments from Chair Olson?
Yes, Chair Olson provided 3 comments. The first one, I'm hoping that I'm seeing a shallow wading pool in the aquatic center and hopefully a slide or 2. Second comment, the walking loop isn't clear to me. It looks zigzaggy. So while there appears to be plenty of length, it doesn't appear to flow without requiring many turns. It almost seems easy to get lost. If this is a misinterpretation on my part, can this be clarified? And the last one, I would like to see concepts for playgrounds and shelters. I would prefer above-average play structures incorporating some hardscape features. I would like the shelters to be co-located with the grassy area. I would like to see at least one shelter where vendors can set up easily, taco cart, jumper, etc., and be located near a play structure. Is it possible to prohibit generators and instead offer lockable electricity? That's it.
Thank you. Okay, commission member reports and comments. Commissioner Munoz, do you have any comments?
No.
Commissioner Kinney, do you have any comments?
No.
Commissioner Wentworth, do you have any comments?
No.
I do not as well. Thank you for joining the Parks and Recreation Commission meeting. We will adjourn this meeting at 9:28 p.m. The next meeting of the Parks and Recreation Commission is scheduled for Tuesday, May 14th, 2024, beginning at 6 p.m. in the council chambers. Thank you, everyone.